pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilmember Crompton.
Here.
Emmerling Baker. Here. Happy.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Keller.
Here.
Mayor Fell. Here.
All right, so any additions or amendments to the agenda? Adoption of the consent agenda?
I motion to adopt the consent agenda. I second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Crompton.
Aye.
Emmerling Baker.
Aye.
Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
No.
So Keller
Oh.
was
Keller was an aye. Yeah. No, I couldn't.
Mayor Fell.
Okay, so. Public hearing?
No public hearing.
Okay, action items, appoint to fill city council vacancy. That's first up. Discussion. So we have, how many, Jordan?
5.
5?
Are there, this is a time for the community to speak if they're speaking on behalf of this item. I don't know if you have any.
Just like that.
Yeah.
That's okay. Looks like there's one, let me double check.
That's 6.
There's one, Josh Baker, council appointment. State your name.
Josh Baker,
You have 3 minutes.
thank you. Thank you guys for all you do to try to help our little city. I appreciate everyone putting in their own time to try to work on various things in this and other committees and councils. And I know there's an opening coming up, and I've been concerned the level of discourse that I've seen in this room, coming out of this room in public on social media. And I'd just like you to consider that who you appoint is somebody who is collaborative, professional, mature, smart, cares about everybody's unbiased, and willing to work with other people, and is a listener. And I believe I know a person who would be a fantastic fit as a project manager, and really cares about the community in this area. And that's Pam Cleve. Thank you.
I just want to, we're excited to see so many people, it's good, but I just want to remind everybody, if you have conversations between each other, if you could take it outside, I want to make sure everyone who's speaking gets heard and everyone's respected. And so if you could keep personal comments to a minimum, I would really appreciate that. I think all the council would. So we have 5 individuals.
Yes, Rob Rostock,
Okay.
Pamela Tweet, Tiffany Pruitt, Tamara Farrell, and Brenda Wood.
We'll just start with the.
So I got 6 applications in front of me. Can you see those names in your? Oh, the 6th one is for planning commission. Yes, Bernard. Okay. Sorry, shit. Yes.
So how about if we start with who's on the top here, and then that would give everyone, a counselor, to ask the opportunity to ask a question. If you ask one-to-one question, I just recommend you ask that to all of them in order to be fair. All right, so Jordan.
So Rob Rostock, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening, welcome. Okay, so here's the, let's see a copy of this. Okay. I did read all yours. I must have lost it. So, Rob, do you want to just address the council and everyone on your interest and why do you want to be a counselor and?
I was a counselor one time before, and that was many years ago. I'm a big believer in public service. Besides serving on the council, I was also actually on the budget committee. I was on the planning commission for a number of years. I've also served on the school board, and on the CAP board, transportation facility here. In terms of what I see here in town, there are a bunch of challenges as near as I can tell. I understand that there's talk about bringing in a data center, and that has all sorts of challenges to it. Starting with who is it? How big is it going to be? What are its electrical and water needs? What are the other infrastructure needs? There's such things as how much would it grow? Another issue for it would be who's representing it in terms of putting together its plan and the legal plan for it, and who's going to negotiate on the city side for all of that. Is there enough headroom in terms of the electrical system? If it's still the same way it was, there's an allocation from the Bonneville Power Administration. And once you run past the end of that allocation, you start paying much higher rates. Who's to pay them if that's the case? And of course, I don't know the answers to all of that because I'm not really privy to what's transpired so far. There are other issues here in town. We have traffic issues. We have parking issues, particularly in the summertime. There's besides the parking and transportation, there's policing issues, and I think I saw something in here when I was going through it quickly. Those would be some of the things that I would highlight quickly without taking up the entire session.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
I want to go around the room and they'll ask questions.
Sure. I know you served on council before. In your experience and opinion, what do you think is the role of city council and the role of government?
I'll say that one more time.
What do you believe is the role of city council in the administration and role of city government?
I see it as a legislative and administrative body for the city. That's it, and to look at it from a very high level, that's how I would look at it.
Rob, will you uphold the city charter and its ordinances?
I certainly would want to, yes.
Wouldn't look for loopholes?
Say that again?
So you wouldn't look for loopholes?
No, I think I know where you're coming from on that. There's certainly some charges on our bills that would appear to us look through some loopholes. And I think there's some folks out there that are bothered by that. I know why. I'm not happy with it. It's in the charter that stuff was supposed to have been voted on, and it wasn't. It was somehow or other, it was made an exception, shall we say.
Hi, Rob, Denise. One of the parts of our charter is section 8, the code of ethics. Council members are encouraged to conduct themselves as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and to set an example of good ethical conduct for all citizens in the community. Have you had a time where you had to, where possibly the city or a group you worked with had a different opinion than you, and it was a conflict, and you still maintain this code of ethics? Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I'd say there's been all sorts of things like that that have occurred. When we built the fire station years back, there was a lot of people who did not approve of it. It was put out to vote for the citizens, as I recall, and it was approved by the citizens. Another time that happened was when we were talking to the tribes about putting in a casino. There were all kinds of pushbacks on that. Both things were approved by the citizens, but by a narrow margin. The sale of the property to build a fire station was challenged. It was challenged in Aluga. So yeah, there's been all sorts of things like that, and it just goes with the job.
Thank you.
That kind of stole my question as well, but would you explain a situation in which you engaged in civil discourse and you came out of that conversation with a better understanding of the opposing side that wasn't your viewpoint?
Oh, I would say that particularly the building of fire station was one of them. I understand that there were some concerns about it, not just the fire station so much, but to build it, there was some property sold back here, and to raise the initial seed money for it, and there were people in town who wanted to buy it themselves, and I don't recall why they didn't, but it was sold to Cascade Columbia Housing Authority, I believe was the name of it, and they were challenged. And like I say, it went to Luba, and they had their reasons for it. They were concerned in terms of who would be coming into town, who would be occupying that housing. And it was certainly a fair question.
My fellow council members asked all the questions I was going to ask, actually, so I don't know what to ask. What do you think is the most critical problem Cascade Locks faces today?
Not knowing exactly what's going on with the data center, it's hard to say. I would say that that's going to be the biggest thing if that continues to move forward. Other than that, I would say what goes on Wampa, how it's built out. Does it meet the comprehensive plan? I hear all sorts of comments one way and the other on that. The parking is a big issue, how that gets handled, particularly in the summertime. You've all lived here, you've probably seen and backups on the highway all the way out here during the summertime. That becomes an issue for us here in town. So those things I think are probably the livability of the city in essence.
Thank you.
Then the only question I have is that, being an elected official or nominated, have you ever been recalled?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Over the fire station and the housing.
Okay, everybody finished? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Rob, or?
Next is Pam.
Pam. I just want to make one more reminder, if you have questions or conversations with another person, please take it outside. So I want to make sure everyone gets heard and respected. All right, okay, cool.
Okay,
Why would you like to be county?
I also believe in service to the community, but I don't think there's a higher power, a way to be with the community. I'm really excited about what could happen in this new realm. We've got a new mayor, we've got a new city administrator. What does the town want? I'm not interested so much in playing my decisions out. I'm interested in working with this team to do what's right for the city. And I have a lot of time, extra time to do this. I have the passion behind it. I'm still very interested. I'm excited that other people are interested, but I'm also concerned of why now and why not before. Happy to answer.
I kind of butchered my question, the first one. Let's see if I could say it a little more clearly this time. What do you believe is the role of city council in our community?
To be the voice of the community, to come together, to drill down, deep dive into the hard questions of what the community needs or wants. Councilman Miller?
Will you uphold the city charter and its ordinances?
Yes, I
Or would
will.
you look for loopholes?
No, and that's one thing that I think is pretty ambiguous that we should probably work on.
Thank you. Section 8 in our Charter Code of Ethics speaks of impartiality and fairness. We're encouraged, council members are encouraged to conduct themselves to bring credit upon the city as a whole, set an example of good ethical conduct for all citizens in the community. Are you willing to meet that code, and can you share a time when your point of view was not the majority point of view and how you met that code?
Oh my goodness, I've been an executive assistant to C-suite leaders, so I have seen and been in every kind of situation you can imagine of getting to the answer and being thankful that you're not the smartest person in the room, because everybody has something to put into it and everybody gets to dig down to the real answer. So ethics has always been an interest of mine. I worked with a hospice group. I sat with the board and did the board work for them. And one of my favorite parts of that job was to take minutes for the ethics committee.
Would you explain a situation in which you viewed unethical behavior and you used your leadership position to stop that behavior?
I think I gave a personal example last time. I think it could be a professional too. I've definitely had to deal with that. Where you have to lay the line and respect each other in times of not understanding each other's side. And I'm trying to think like a good example. Okay, so I was preparing for a large project when I worked at a travel technology firm, and half the team didn't want to do what we had decided, the bigger group had decided, and I had to tell them, we have made this decision, and the people that are not in the playing field need to step up and still do their job and be present and do the right thing.
What do you think is the most important issue facing Cascade lots today?
Since I've been here over a year now, and I think it's changed like every quarter. So right now, because there's so much that could be done, as far as downtown and such, but I think safety and security is probably high on my list anyway.
Thank you.
If you've ever been in an elected position or appointed, have you ever been recalled?
No. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Jordan?
Next is Tiffany Pruitt.
So, why do you want to be a counselor?
I feel that I have experience that I can share with the current council that is all very new. You have a new city administrator, you have new councilors, and I feel that I can help navigate the past and the future. I have a very keen interest on financial and keeping the city within its budget and making sure that the citizens' money is being spent in the best way possible.
What do you believe is the role of city council in the community?
I believe that the role of the city council and the community is to hear what the citizens have to say, to also keep an eye on what the city is doing financially and within our means, and to get the most bang for our buck as possible.
Will you uphold the city charter and its ordinances, or would you look for loopholes?
I don't like loopholes, so the answer is yes, I would uphold the city charter. Loopholes make me angry.
Thank you. Part of our charter includes the code of ethics, impartiality, and fairness. Council members are encouraged to conduct themselves so as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and set example of good ethical conduct for all citizens and the community. Can you share a time where possibly the majority opinion didn't meet with yours and you upheld the code of ethics?
I have been on the opposite side of a great deal of issues in the city of Cascade Locks, one being the casino and the other being Nestle. And even though I didn't agree with it because I felt that the scope and the size of those projects were enormous for the city and that the city would be engulfed, I still understood why people would want it, because it would have been a great economical boom for the city. It's always a struggle when you're on the opposite side, because you want to do what's best for the people, but at the same time, you have your standards that you really do not have any desire to compromise on.
Kind of piggybacking onto that, can you please explain to me how that upholds the ethics and leadership that is in our charter when you make comments that there is a target on her back?
Target on whose back?
It was a comment made at the last council meeting by you.
Oh, I said that was in regards to speaking about how the appearance of continuing to put off voting for a council, somebody to be in this position that you're currently discussing tonight, about it gives the appearance to the community, and it's not just my opinion, but it gives the appearance that that we're trying to keep a wall of people who have the same opinions as we do, and therefore we're not welcoming in opposition arguments to your argument, and therefore you're insulating yourself from a portion of representation of the city of Cascade Locks.
Can you please explain to me how that's ethical and a standard of leadership?
It's a warning to help you see that people are now paying way more attention to what you guys are doing than they were before.
So what you're saying that it is an ethical thing to do.
It has, if I have information that could be in opposition, that could be a warning, then it is an ethical thing to do, is to present that information to the council. Yes.
What is the most important issue that Cascade faces today?
Right now, it is homelessness and crime. We have had people, as in my application, we had people who were living in the restaurant in town with the owner's permission during a cold spell. And that person who was living there had got was 86 from every business here in town. And it made the businesses uncomfortable, and it made people living around it uncomfortable, and it was not ordinance enforced. And I know that we don't have an ordinance enforcer, but at the same time, we have to take care and uphold our rules and our regulations. So right now, it's crime and homelessness coming through.
So my question,
And your answer is yes, I have been recalled.
Next is Tamara Farrell.
Hey, everyone. Okay, you guys might know me. I don't think I've met you before, welcome. I was on city council. Matter of fact, I got elected along with Councilmember Miller and Fallon at the same time. And had a family emergency and had to eventually resign. But in retrospect, looking back on that, I wish I would have maybe asked council for leave of absence, but at the time it didn't register that way. But anyway, so I am back and basically asking for my job back, and I'm open for questions. Hi.
Hi, it's good to see you. What do you believe is the role of city council in our community?
Number one is to listen to everyone, and then take what they've said, bring it back to council and discuss, can we do anything about this? Do we have the monies to do this? How can we get the monies to do this? Can we put it off in the future? But basically it's to represent the town and then figure out how to solve what they want. I mean, if it's something that's the town really wants to have overall. I mean, I'd like a bowling alley, but.
I grew up in bowling alleys. Will you uphold the city charter and its ordinances, or would you look for loopholes?
I withheld everything in the last time that I was on council, and I would do it again. And same goes for my taxes. I don't cheat on my taxes.
Thank you, Tammy. And part of our charter includes the Section 8 Code of Ethics, impartiality and fairness. Council members are encouraged to conduct themselves so as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and set an example of good ethical conduct for all citizens of the community. Can you tell a time when your opinion was possibly not the majority opinion and you held to the standard in the Code of Ethics?
Probably most recently, it was the bathrooms out by the post office. I really didn't like the idea. There was just too many open things that could happen. But I listened to everybody and we went ahead with it. And we're still having problems with it, but we seem to be tackling them as they come up. Another thing that's come up that it's not current, but it will be, is a dispensary. And so I was totally against it at first, and kind of coming around to that idea, seeing a lot of positiveness towards that it would help with the town. So, yeah.
I was going to ask about civil discourse and when you came to an understanding of the opposition, and it seemed as though that would answer my question.
What do you think is the most important issue Cascade Locks faces today?
Well, putting the data center aside, I would say policing. Because crime's getting worse here in town. Affordable housing. And I guess my third thing would be, Sheldon's department. We need to get another person hired in there because when we have power outages, we always have to contract out or we're low on staff when we're snowed in. So those would be my top ones.
And my question, so as an elected official or appointed, have you ever been recalled?
Last is Brenda Wood.
All right, so why would you like to be a councilor?
Because I love my community and like to be a voice of my community, as I've showed in many years of experience being on budget committee for 4 years, being on counselor, organizing the Cascade Locks community garage sales. I've done Santa Social, I've done the business committee, I own a business and I've owned a business in the downtown area. So I am very intertwined in our community. So that's why.
What do you believe is the role of city council in that community?
I believe it's about policies and procedures and making sure that we're all doing the right thing and what the people want.
And will you uphold the city charter and its ordinances, or would you look for loopholes?
I would uphold them.
Part of our city charter includes section, oh, sorry,
That's not city charter, that's city procedures.
Thank
That's different things.
thank you. Part of the city procedures include section 8 code of ethics, impartiality and fairness. Council members are encouraged to conduct themselves so as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and set an example of good ethical conduct for all citizens of the community. Can you tell a time when your opinion was not the majority opinion and you held to these ethical standards?
It's happened several times in these chambers and I've been able to withhold. If it's even got heated a few times and I've excused myself, and I don't think there's anything wrong with excusing yourself. It's better than, making a show. So I have done that for years and never had a problem.
Can you please explain how you demonstrated leadership when a member of your support group says there is a target on her back?
At that time, I was not in leadership. I was not a council member when that community member said that. And I didn't have anything to say about it. I was in the audience and heard it and I didn't have any opinion on it. I wasn't here during the recall. I moved here just as a recall was happening. So I have no experience with what the recall was about. I know I moved in here and I had people in my yard telling me who we needed to recall, who we needed to vote for, and I didn't know anybody. So that's about the time I moved to Cascade Locks is when the last recall was. So I don't know any information on it or anything. I'm all word of mouth and what I see with my eyes, and who you see is what you get. I happen to live with a veteran that's very hard of hearing, so I talk very loud and very clear, which could come across as being sarcastic or argumentative or whatever, but I do live with someone that's very hard of hearing and have to talk loud and clear in order for my husband to hear me.
What is the most important issue Cascade Locks faces today?
Safety, policing, crime, traffic, speeding. It's a big issue and it's getting worse. Homelessness, drugs, the list goes on. And as long as we're not doing anything, it's going to continue to grow. And I know as a council, our hands are kind of tied because of money and all that, so I do realize that, and I do have experience and all that, what we have tried, what we are looking at, what we did look at, all these things, so I think I offer a lot as far as experience on past, what we've done or what we haven't done or what we've talked about.
And then my question, as an elected official or appointed, have you ever been recalled?
No, I haven't.
Thank you. Okay. Any others?
That's it?
All right. That's it.
Point of order, Mayor Fallon. When we were choosing, I know this is different, but I'm not sure we have a clear protocol when there are 5 people who took the time to apply. When we chose this strategic planning organization, you had us each share who our top 2, so that I'm hoping to avoid a rush to a motion tonight. And I don't know if another member has a better way, if we vote on everybody, or if any other council member has the best way to make sure this is not an election based on the first member to rush to make a motion.
I would like to make one point before we get into that. Is that Councilman Keller asked different questions of different people. And in this process, we ask the same questions every single person, not different ones.
But I think we weren't clear the first time, and that people asked different questions the first time.
Mayor Fallon, at the start of this, said you asked us the same questions, the same people.
I interpreted Councilman Keller that he was on the same line of questioning. So it wasn't like completely different.
They were
So
different questions.
it's okay.
They were targeted.
Mr. Miller, I was speaking towards the ethics and leadership clause. And you know my opinion, everybody in this room knows my opinion. I am a staunch advocate for civil discourse. And that's what I was trying to address.
So I know when we were, we had the 4 or 5 candidates for the strategic plan, it seemed to help. We went around and kind of said who our top 2 were and why. And does that sound good?
Yes.
All right.
I'll mix it up. I'll mix it up.
I guess first and foremost, just want to say thanks again for, in some cases, people have been to 3 council meetings now, to express their interest in being part of city council. So that means a lot. I think this process has been heated at times, and there have been people on council that have felt like this is an example of council not working. And I feel like this is an example of the work. It's not always supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy, and it's not always going to be very clean. But what it has done is it's highlighted some of the challenges we have on city council of trust and our ability to listen and work constructively with people even when you don't agree. And I guess I appreciate some of the questions that were asked this evening of the people that are the candidates, because it really gets to that. And I guess with that in mind, the 2 people I guess I'm most supportive of at this point would be Pamela and Tiffany. Or excuse me, Emma, sorry.
Councilman Miller?
Well, first off, my first pick would be Brenda Wood, because my opinion, she was duly elected. That was denied her by a mistake by council. And council had a chance to correct that mistake and follow city charter, and they chose 3 of the members chose not to. My second choice would be Tamara Farrell, because actually this is position we're voting on is her old position. And she did a great job, and it should be a credit to come back.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to apply and come here again. And I want to echo Pete in saying that it's not always easy and that this, I really appreciate the learning that this council is doing and the trust that we're building. The discourse that happened in front of our attorney at the last meeting about how to move forward, the different interpretations of majority in the legal sense as defined in our charter earlier. And I was recently at court meetings with strategic planners Moss and Adams for a night in the morning and heard terms they thought were important for building an organization that is very useful in the community, terms such as compassion, empathy, respect, ethics, embracing change, setting a standard for the community discourse. Because sowing distrust in this community is not going to help us get a police force when that's going to cost some money. We're going to have to find out why. And divisiveness sowing divisiveness in our community is not going to help us figure out what we do about possible code violations happening downtown that may not benefit our community, how we're going to pursue that. So those words are very important to me. And on that note, I support Pam and Tammy Farrell.
She's all night, you're stealing my words. I want to express that in civil discourse means the world to me. And that's where I will always be an advocate for. So mine are Pam and Tamara.
I just want to say thank you all for applying. I know that this has been a journey, to say the least. From everything I've heard today, everybody has similar thoughts on where our problems facing the city, and any of the members would be excellent choices for a new council member. But based off of my gut feelings, I am in favor of Tamara Farrell for her formerly being on the council and needing to step down for family issues. I know that can be a tough decision, and Tiffany Pruitt for her experience with the budget and in town and everything.
All right, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. It really, truly is amazing to see so many people. Being on city council for the last 2 years, it was usually crickets in here. So it's actually really, truly, I like to see involvement, and I appreciate everyone who has come forward, applied for city councilor, and they're so passionate about it. I don't want to beat the dead horse if we go back. I just want to move forward and be positive, and civil discourse, I'm real big on that. I've heard all the horror stories years ago where people would have to have police here and they were yelling and cussing. That's just, there's nothing good that's going to come of that. There's nothing good of it. And I think the one thing, and I always say this, every single person in this room wants to see Cascade Locks do well. Every single one of us, that we can all agree on. I think to my two would narrow down would be Tamara for experience and everything, and then Pam as well. So those would be mine. All right. So
Mayor, two things. There was one comment. Just want to make sure we saw it. Brenda Wood was duly elected, period, echoing Butch's sentiment. And then keeping track of everyone that just voted. Tamara had 6 in the top 2. Tiffany had 1. Brenda had 1. Pam had 4, and Rob had 0.
Okay. So would it be safe to say between Tamara and Pam? Would that be, it seems like that's the top 2.
I make a motion to nominate Pam for the, or not Pam, Tamara for the position of city council.
Now, what was,
Sorry, I motion to nominate
We were told.
Tamara for city council, to appoint.
I'll second that.
So there's been a motion to vote for Tamara for city council. It's been seconded. Any discussion?
I find this a difficult time when we have two. If we're meant to vote on both or just one if it passes, I'm not sure protocol.
If it passes, they're on.
Okay,
So this is the opportunity for discussion about.
right. It's a very hard decision for me. I just want to say that out loud.
And it's tough because it was very close between the top. two.
Well, and from what I know and believe and trust about the two.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Said everything I wanted to say.
All right, motion's been set, it's been seconded, so roll call vote.
Councilmember Crompton,
Aye.
Emmerling Baker,
No.
Cappy.
Aye.
Keller,
Bye.
Miller,
aye.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. All right, so it passes. I'm confirming that.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so. Tammy Carroll. Come on up. So next is oath of office for appointment to council.
I don't want my goddamn.
Hang on. And then for everyone that applied, I encourage you to be involved, get on some committees. There's all sorts of opportunities right now. All sorts.
Tamara, repeat after me, raise your right hand. I, state your name. I, Tamara Farrell. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That as councilor of the city of Cascade, Florida. As councilor of the city of Cascade, Florida. I will uphold the Constitution of the United States. I will uphold the Constitution of the United States, the state of Oregon, the state of Oregon, the city charter and ordinances, city charter and ordinances, and will faithfully execute the duties entrusted to me. The duties entrusted to me. You have your names.
All right, thank you. All right, so appointment to committees.
So we have two items. We have an application from Bernard Seeger, that his name, for planning commission. But now that we finally filled the vacancy, when Pam was on for half of the meeting, she was taken off the tourism committee, and there's been some debate on the tourism committee about whether she's was back on it, and so I guess want to ask Pam if you want to go back onto it, and might as well get it resolved tonight.
Thank you for asking,
Yeah.
because I was going to email you.
We can have her do the actual application, but it's been, weird limbo, so.
I'm very interested in serving the community, and I am interested in the tourism community specifically.
Okay.
Isn't there also still another vacancy on planning?
No, she's the last one. Who did we just appoint? We just appointed somebody else. I can't remember the name now.
Oh, Marie Miller.
No, she's already on it. Who was it? I'm spacing on the name now, but we just appointed someone,
I
right?
remember, but we just have.
And this will cover, this will cover. Okay. So, we need to vote on Pam coming back in. Were you ever off?
Technically? Well, that's the,
Yeah,
well,
that's the,
yeah,
okay. I told Annie to speak directly to Jordan.
I would love to have you on tourism. Yeah. Can we vote on it?
So you can do the appointment and then it's approved by the council.
Tourism. Roll call vote. Right? Okay,
Yeah.
roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
All right.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye.
You're missing.
Do we need to acknowledge Ms. Farrell?
you forgot that.
And
Hey, we're looking
Carol?
back in.
I gotta write that in. Thank you.
Did you vote? She vote.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay. You're back on tourism. Thank you. Thank you. All right, if Bernard, like to, I know his. Good, but I would like to appoint him and look for, he's been a long-standing individual. He's great on budget committee and he does a lot of community, so, and he has good knowledge of building and all that. With the garbage bucket, yeah.
Mayor Fallon, point of order. I'm not sure if this is a discussion time when we appoint committees, but I was thinking about last time and I imagine in our work session, we'll come up with procedure for appointing committees but on this, I appreciate that you spoke, that Bernard was here last time. I am aware he would be here tonight, but his train is delayed. So, and I also know this person as an upstanding citizen in our community and background. And so I'm hoping that we will have interviews, but that's a whole other time, how we do appointments. And I appreciate that.
All right.
So one of the things that we talked about, sorry, question,
No, but
was, and I don't know what the options are for doing this, but one of the things that we talked about was continue to collect applications for these positions, just like you would if you're hiring, you have a company. You continue to collect the applications if you're fully staffed. That way, when we have an opening that comes up, we already have a list. If you're interested, perhaps we could shorten the time it takes to fill those vacancies when they.
Thank you. And maybe have a procedure similar to tonight. I know it takes time to interview them. That'd be great. So
Part of planning.
Right.
There's still a requirement to post the vacancies when they do occur and have those prior to appointment.
Got it, so that you could collect them ahead of time, but sort of like what we did with some of the people that previously applied, they could then, they'd have to fill out a new piece of paper, they already had one on file.
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
And is it appropriate to discuss that we do have in our ordinances 15 powers and duties of the commission, A to O? And it is my understanding that Bernard is aware of those, putting many things that could benefit the city and.
Councilman Miller?
Bernard is a past city administrator,
Yes.
so you know, so he's very well versed in just about everything.
Okay. Take a roll call vote.
Did we?
Can you move?
I don't think we actually motioned.
Well, I think.
I appointed.
Appointed, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an appointment by the mayor, and then the appointments are subject to council approval.
We've always done mayor appoint and then consensus of council is how we've done it in the past.
Oh, okay. Appoint Bernard Figure. Consensus of council?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any other? Nope. Yes, approval of request for proposal for information technology support services.
Yes, as we had discussed, or my report says, when we had the email issues back in December, where it was down to about a week, we did some research on our IT staff. Found out we actually didn't have a contract with them, so I decided to take the opportunity to look into doing an RFP. I worked with RadComp. They came in and did an internal review of our system to give us an idea of how to actually put the RFP together. And this is the draft they put together. I added a little bit for us to make it a little more to it. So I want to put this out. I also want to note that our current IT person is no longer providing service for the city, so we have hired RadComp on an emergency basis. I know you had issue with this RadComp. RadComp does plan, I assume, to bid on our.
Ms. Bradcom also helped draft RFP?
The skeleton, of it, yes. They came and did a assessment of our, what kind of equipment we had, what level it was at. We didn't want to put out an RFP that wasn't correct where our actual IT infrastructure was and what we needed. And for reference, I didn't put it in here. Madras did one, I guess it was almost 2-3 years ago now. The award they picked was about $4,500 a month. And they're much bigger than us. So it's not, he doesn't think, we'd be any more than that. So it's definitely within our budget. We currently have 58,000 budgeted for IT services.
Annually.
What's that?
Annually.
And yes.
And I did express to Jordan my concern there that they would be applying after helping to prepare the RFP. That is an issue.
Do you want to elaborate on that, saying it's an issue?
They really shouldn't apply. If they help prepare the RFP, they cannot, because they had a hand in creating the parameters for the work, then it's a procurement issue according to state procurement guidelines.
And Ruben, what do you recommend then that we might, if we're interested, because the port is also using them, and that we would, or Jordan would look into other advice on writing the RFP, or that we approve at another meeting?
Well, it's already been written, so I think.
But we haven't approved this yet.
We haven't
Correct, you haven't
approved
approved
it.
it. So if you wanted to
Consider our.
get a curtain up on those parameters that Bradcom worked on, you can attempt that, but, I would just, if it were up to me, I would be most comfortable just saying they're out.
I hate to dismiss a company that has been working in our town and might be a good fit for us by a mistake in requesting they help write the RFP. Is it something an attorney can review and rewrite? Or Jordan might talk to League of Oregon Cities to write an RFP, or?
You can talk to the League of Oregon Cities. I already reviewed the RFP for legal sufficiency. There's an Oregon administrative rule regarding these RFPs, and there's also a statute regarding these on RFPs. So usually the IT, it's kind of a sticky situation because the IT parameters, an attorney's not going to know what the parameters of the RFP should be. An IT person knows that. I went over it for legal sufficiency. So perhaps it doesn't make sense to revise the parameters of the RFP when they're what we need. So unfortunately, I have to recommend that RadCom just is an ineligible proposer.
Do we know how many other people might be bidding on this? How many other companies might?
Again, bigger I count, but Madras I think had 7 or 8 proposals put in.
Okay. So we should have plenty of other options.
I would hope so, yes. I can't guarantee it, but I
No.
hope so.
Based on the knowledge we have.
Yep.
That's too bad. They seem to work well.
They're a great company.
They've been
They really,
great the last few months, which is unfortunate, but
so it's a technicality that we shouldn't have asked them to write the RFP.
I had to ask somebody to help me.
I know.
Well,
Can we ask them if they've ever run into this legal problem before and if there were any solutions? I don't know. It seems like rewriting the RFP would be the only solution. I just hate to punish them for helping us.
Being proactive.
Yeah. So, do which one to go?
Is this only for hardware or is it also software?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything, from helping us budget new computers to our email was not working again this morning. They called Kathy, we figured it out, I mean, everything. 24/7 systems.
And they're the ones we're hiring right now in an emergency.
Yes, on an emergency basis. Essentially, we call them, they help, we get an invoice. It's not a flat rate.
Personally, I would propose that we don't approve this tonight and give Jordan some time to rewrite it in a way that allows Radcom to bid. I don't know what that means. Does that seem too much?
I can work it through, but we can.
I'd be happy to work on that.
Okay, but
Is there any unfair advantage that this, Radcom would have over some of the competition that they've already been working with the city in capacity? And is there any?
I don't know the answer, it's just the fact that it occurred, it's assumed, according to the procurement rules. So that's the problem, is that it has, even if there isn't, it has an appearance of unfairness.
I wondered even if they aren't drafting an RFP, would there still be an appearance of unfairness if we already have a business relationship with one of the people that are applying?
That is not written into the procurement rules. Perhaps you could argue that, but it's not a standard that we have to concern ourselves with. We just have to make sure that the drafting of the RFP is a separate, is kept separate from those that are applying.
We ran into a similar situation with BKI. Where they wrote for us and then they were ruled out and time went by and they ended up, we ended up hiring them.
Well, yeah, that situation would occur if we put it out and we got no applicants. We could go back to them, so just like the BK and saying there was no other,
Reasonable.
yes.
Yeah. And that was also blessed by the USDA, I believe.
Yes, it was, yeah,
Yes.
USDA approved that.
They came back and said, yes, we will allow that.
We may end up with the same situation.
We might, yeah.
so Jordan, you would be willing to call League of Oregon Cities and see what could be done or?
Yeah, I can rewrite it, yeah.
Maybe there's another city that's gone through this that has an RFP we can look at.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's another city that has a template that we can piggyback off, of, yeah.
We basically have to hire a different company to do the same thing though, because none of us are IT experts and, I mean, looking at this, it's like, oh yeah, I know what they are, but like, just because if they already have, basically we have a template and without making another one, like, that is made by another IT company, would it not be the same thing as basically using the Radcom RFP?
Well, it is a bit of a pickle in that our needs are our needs, and they're not going to, you would not think that they would significantly change, even though another company is drafting the RFP. That said, if we can at least review the parameters to a certain extent, that it's not Radcom's own words, then we're getting outside that realm, so then it would be okay.
And the scope of work seems pretty clear. But if we have the company that's bidding on this, writing also the considerations that we should use for approving it, that's where there might be some ability that they can review those considerations as well. Yeah, we've got the considerations and also have a score, you know, so.
Yeah. And I have reached out to, City of Gresham to see if any of their IT people will help us kind of score these proposals when we do get them in, so somebody that has no vested interest at all. I haven't heard back. I asked.
Does that sound like a consensus? Yeah, all right.
So option 3, questions,
An action item that we need to vote on, or just a consensus?
Well, I think at this point, since it's not being approved and it's being tabled, we don't even need a motion or consensus to this direction.
Next, approval of financial assistance request from Cascade Elementary.
Prior to this, I wish to make it known that I recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So you should state the nature of the conflict, if there is one.
The president of the PTO is my wife.
You're up. Okay. So, thank you for providing the opportunity for PTO to come before you officially. We have a big fundraiser coming up for our casino night, and we are requesting from this council assistance in the form of money to be able to purchase thank you gift cards for our volunteers. And so hoping that that will be able to be approved, up to $750, allowing us to continue to support the students and the teachers here in our community, while also acknowledging our volunteer support. And has council had a chance to look at our budget out of the, Tammy, do you have a packet? Yes, okay, thank you. Looks like we have, I'm right, 42?
5791, so that, yeah, the 5,791 is what's left in the budget line, and 4208 is what's spent.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And that goes till June.
Yes, end of June.
Okay.
I have some questions about this. Gifts for volunteers. Volunteer means to do it for free. And this looks like a payment.
This is an acknowledgement of the community support that we have. This is going to be a really big event. And so it's a 4+ hour ask of our volunteers, plus additional prep time that they've been working with us on through meetings and other involvement. So it's a big ask, but it's also a really big event, and we are really hopeful that this will be something that can, going forward, be something that is more of our main event for the year. So we really want to be able to thank the people that are participating with it, while acknowledging them.
Yeah, this is quite a bit different from the ask last summer, when you're asking for money for programs that directly involve the children. And this does not directly involve the children. It's an indirect and basically a payment.
So with respect to that, a point of clarification, PTO was approached last year and asked to come before the council and request children's services. So we did so on the premise that we were then facilitating through the community ed program, additional programming. We simply were the go-between intermediary, allowing that funding to be brought to the community and therefore attending and focusing on our children. This is a different ask specific to PTO.
And may I, and this event is in order to raise funds as well.
Yes.
So you don't need to ask. And I see that we have almost $5,800 in community programming. And I know it's been brought up in prior council that it would be great if we had a budget in another place to ask for this. And I would propose it's part of the Tourism and Beautification Committee as we look deeper into those duties. But we don't have that happening now, and I see this as a step forward in the PTCO trying to raise funds, so you don't have to ask for more. And we do have stipends written in our documents that we can choose to give stipends, not that we are choosing that, the PTCO is. So I see it as a little bit of money out to make more money. And that we have it, it's already March, April, May, June, so we still will have 5,000 in, even for community. And there may be other asks that come, but I feel like we have a good fund. And of course, this council, maybe in work session, can talk about how better to delineate community funds and which bodies to, put it out to neighborhood, groups but personally, I see it as a win-win. They're asking for money to make money.
You're asking for money for gift cards, not thank you cards.
We intend to do both, but as a additional token of our appreciation. It's a big ask of our community, and there are many, many people involved.
May I ask that those gift cards be for Cascade Locks businesses?
Absolutely.
So that's a win-win then.
So how many volunteers do you expect to be participating in this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have 7 plus almost 8 volunteers that will be working the event for us as far as assisting them in the casino, and then an additional, I think we're up to 6 students, in addition to PTO parents that are going to be helping with the childcare portion. So it's a large group, much larger than we've had any ask for at this point so far. But we are really hopeful that this will be an opportunity for us to raise funds, again, to support the students and the teachers of our community. So that's what it all comes back to.
And then also, it looks like it says here, the PTO is, the PTO has been informed that it is a reimbursement-based gift. So the funds that would be, it's not, even if it was up to $750, the actual funds that would be reimbursed to the PTO would be actual expenses that were incurred to say, gift cards or thank you cards.
Yes.
For the 14 volunteers.
We'll get to discussion.
I move that we, sorry, we can't?
Sorry, no, Tammy had her hand up.
When is casino night?
April 15th, it will be at the pavilion, down at the Cascade Port, from 7 to 10. Tickets are on sale through Eventbrite.
I have a problem with it going to volunteers. It's not how I vision the money being spent. Have you tried going to the individual restaurants and asking them to give a gift card for this?
So many asks are being made right now. Our whole network of donors and volunteers gorge-wide. That specifically hasn't been asked for. The hope was to be able to provide that through this opportunity while maintaining other local entities for other donations. There will also be a silent auction component as part of what we're doing. So again, it's a big ask of the community in a holistic capacity. And this is the chance we're hoping to be able to present council.
So if I understand you correctly, at least with my involvement in the carnival that we had for Halloween, it seemed like you had done a lot of fundraising to procure items that could be silent auction or given away. And so in place of trying to get these items that would be given to the volunteers, those items that might be donated by local businesses could then be used for the raffle. And things that we, a $5 gift card for some coffee, it'd be something that we might be able to provide with 5%.
And I see that we have a small amount of businesses in town that would be great to get gift cards for, and I hate to burden them with always giving free, always giving free, always giving free. So to purchase that, to me, is a win-win. We help that business, we help the BTCO, and then open them up to possibly donate to the silent auction if they want. But I hate to burden our small businesses for having to give it away for free as well, personally, when we have it in our budget. Earmarked for community.
I agree with the win myself. I understand, it's tough work being a volunteer, and yes, we all volunteer and we don't get paid for it.
But I know that your other businesses, the other businesses here are giving for the silent auction, things like that. So if you could get those gift cards for here locally, I think it helps the volunteer, it's a little bit of incentive. They could go out and have a nice dinner or something, or however you allocate those funds, but then it would be not so burdening on the communities, so.
The money what's the purpose of the casino night? What is the money going to be used for that you raise?
It goes towards our annual budget in terms of operating and supporting
Okay,
the
so there's
students.
nothing
and the teachers.
specific, it's just goes into your,
We are gearing up to actually open up a more specific fundraising opportunity that is to beautify and improve the play structure area. There's a separate, actually car raffle that we'll be launching here on Friday. So that is specifically been earmarked and is designated for that. The funds that we anticipate raising from that will not be near enough to support that project in its entirety. And so in terms of getting to a point where PTO has the financial ability to do a larger project and to continue to support the school, even on an infrastructure level, something like this with regards to the casino night is hopefully going to be able to provide enough revenue where we could then look to have a bigger project that we support. Currently, as an example, we are able to provide grants to all the teachers at the beginning of the school year. It's $100 for each teacher that they are able to use to support their learning environment in whatever capacity that they deem that most appropriate. Some have bought bouncy balls to be able to have the kids sit on. Others have bought supplies that aren't necessarily something that would be appropriate for the school to provide, but that enhances and directly benefits the students. We hope to expand that and to continue to do things that, again, support the children and teachers of the school.
Thank you, Michaela. I've been PTCO president in Welch's, Oregon, which probably in the 90s was 1,300 population like ours. Looks like it's 2,000 now. And I know nights
Our
like this.
students, sorry, we are at almost 100.
No, I meant
Of
the
kids.
population of the town.
Oh, sure, okay.
And at a night, a casino night, we had a casino night, very adult oriented, silent auction. I believe one year we raised $25,000 in that small town. So these nights, I know, because it's a big, fun adult event, can be a big money raiser. So I appreciate that and all the work that goes into it.
I just keep having this. It's a volunteers. I know it's a lot of work and they do a lot of work, but they're also expecting not to get paid. That's why it's volunteer work. It's not. They're not getting paid. If they want to be paid, they do it for a wage. But in like this high school kids, they are gonna be there. They can write this off on their community service hours, and the adults are doing it probably for their kids who are in the school. It's part of their job too to provide and support their kids. I mean, like, I know it's a lot of work, but
Right.
and it's also not. Like I did a quick math, and $7.50 for 14 people, that's a $50 gift card each. That's not a small gift card. That's not $5 of coffee at a local business, or, you know, it's not like a token. It's more like, oh, hey, thank you for being here. Like, I know it's not. I mean, at that, like, if you're expecting like 4-ish hours of work, that's almost more than, it's like $10 an hour. That's like just below minimum wage.
I can speak to running fundraisers, and most, because this is a big one for you guys this year. Most large fundraisers, yes, take lots of volunteer, you don't get paid for it, but whether it's a school or the Alzheimer's Association, they have gifts and they do things for their volunteers. They're either setting them up in a dinner, which costs we'll use the Alzheimer's Association. So it costs them to pay for each of those volunteers' dinner. So there is a cost associated sometimes when you're doing a large event and you're hiring a casino people, there's lots of costs incurred. So the way I interpreted this is that they're just trying to be able to thank their volunteers and not have them financially impact whatever your budget is. So I appreciate you separating it out, but I look at it's kind of like it's a half a dozen one or the other. So if you weren't asking for this money for the gift cards, you could say, no, you're not, but it's the same thing, it's a wash. So you need X amount of dollars to complete your event. So that's the way I look at it in my past with working with different organizations.
Yeah, maybe it's in the terminology that you use, because if we're going to Cascade Locks Ale House, say, and saying, can we get a gift card for the volunteers? And can you also give one in the silent auction? You could be asking for funds to buy that for the silent auction so that Cascade Locks Ale House is not burdened. I know that they made pizzas for some event at the school. and
The Ale House specifically has donated all of the
So,
pizza
and
provided
Shelley's-
under skate nights.
So-
So do it again this Friday.
So I really appreciate your looking toward not burdening our local businesses. And we do have stipends in our documents. I have been on city councils where the council members and the mayor get a stipend. Committees can be given a stipend if you vote on it. It's not that I want it, but it's not unheard of that volunteers get a small stipend.
This isn't a stipend,
It's
it's
a thank you.
a request for funds against child programming. And yes, I know that this will eventually go towards child programming, but it's not what the fund is meant for.
And most stipends are used to pay for like mileage and things like that, at those meetings. And large organizations like Alzheimer's and that, they usually have an annual dinner, which they budget for. It's for a whole year process, not just for one night.
It's their event. So,
Just, but this doesn't have to be all or nothing. I'm gonna assume PTO will take whatever money they can get, so, I mean, council's comfortable with a smaller amount of money. That is an option as well.
And I would like to put out to this council, in the 3 months we have left of this fiscal year, is there some earmark for that $5,700 for community engagement that you want to save this $700 for? Anybody here?
What we normally get right at the beginning of the summer, a request for a large amount of money for some summer program. And the last couple of years, it's been around the $5,000.
Do you think the casino night might make that $5,000?
We don't know where.
I hope you make more. I hope you make more than that.
But that's not, those people that request those funds don't request funds from the PTO, they request them from the city. And if the city doesn't have the money to provide for an earmarked amount, then it won't happen.
Those people are sitting right here that request that money for city. So
Well, I'm just saying, in the funds that they're planning this for are for other things, they're not necessarily, which are good and noble things. But it's just,
It's a tough spot to be up here and just say, you don't want to, like, it feels like you're not supporting the PTO.
no, I want to, I want to,
No, I want to do. My dad was a teacher, my grandmother's a teacher.
my wife's a teacher.
My niece is a teacher.
I think the sticking point, if I just wanted to, I guess, summarize, it's not about not supporting the PTO, it's about taking funds that could be used to support the students and using those funds to provide compensation for the
a different
volunteers.
fund that had some $700 in it, cool, it's the fund that's allocated for, that we're talking about today is the fund allocated for children's programming.
Well, it says it's support community programs.
That's
What's
what
the-
it
what's
is.
the-
Or community programs, never mind, I was mistaken then, so
and the event itself is
supports community program.
an event in town. I mean, it's an event for everybody. And
No.
to go to,
Is there alcohol being served there?
It's a 21 and over. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
An event for adults, all adults, not just, you know, and imagine family members from out of town might attend. So I see that we have the budget. It's a matter too of trust. I trust the person coming forward and the fiduciary responsibility for the funds. And if you've come to this council before asking for money, so if you thought this was the best way to use that money to make this a success, I trust that. I'm not a part of the PTCO right now. I'm not a part of planning for this. I wish we had a budget to recognize some of our staff members more. I do see the value, and I've spoken to a council member recently about the value of recognizing the people that are working for you, volunteer or not, and some funding be set aside for that. So I feel that that's where I'm standing, is that I trust the person asking for the funds and that we think it's best use. And maybe, you know, had it just been asking for the money and not paying what it's for. That we need this to put this on.
But I love how you're funneling it right back in the community.
And your
Yes, so-
transparency and
Right.
honesty.
I appreciate that. Okay. Need a motion.
I move that we approve the funding request of up to $750. We say up to? Of $750 to the Cascade Locks Elementary Parent Teacher Organization for volunteer appreciation gift cards using the budget line 01-408-62022, support community programs.
For a second. No second?
Can we amend it to $600?
I welcome that friendly amendment.
You want to restate?
I motion to approve the funding to the request of $600 to the Cascade Locks Elementary Parent Teacher Organization for volunteer appreciation gift cards using the budget line 01-408-62022, supporting community programs.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Now it's discussion.
So, Tiffany Pruitt, if you want me to sit down, it's just gonna be a couple questions. So, the only question I had, now that you changed it to 600, but at the last council meeting, they asked for 7, this time it's 750. Also, is there something submitted in writing that states exactly how this money will be paid, because, how this money will be used, because that's your responsibility to know how this money is going to be used exactly when you do this. So usually people present a proposal and how it's going to be, you just don't base it on a person's word.
I believe she has stated how we're gonna spend it.
Yes.
So,
In
and
writing.
the gift cards that are staying here in town.
Contracts are in writing, not in words, are not verbal. That's just my point.
Thank you for your input. Okay, is there any other discussion?
Thank you for considering a lesser amount.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
I guess, I just wanted to say, I'm all about saying thank you to the volunteers. This thing I'm sticking, I guess sticking in my craw is, just, is this really getting to the students? And, yeah, I understand it's, the intention here is to say thank you to the volunteers for helping to generate the money, but if we, 14 thank you cards can be written for under $20. And I know when I've been on the others receiving side of things, a heartfelt thank you and a handshake, and something like a mad eye with a handwritten card means a lot. So I guess that's where I'm looking at, is it gonna cut back on the number of people that are helping to volunteer or throw this event? I believe in the heart of our community and the people that are gonna be there, whether they're getting a card or not, I think the event's still probably gonna go off without a hitch. So I guess that's my hesitation about it.
And I just want to remind everybody, it's out of the support community programs fund, not necessarily for students. for community program.
And to Tiffany's point, I mean, your motion did say 4 gift cards, and I should get receipts that say gift cards. If it doesn't say gift cards, it won't be paid for.
And gift cards agreed in the town of Cascade. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, there's been a motion, it's been seconded, so roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emerald Baker,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller, I'm sorry, Miller,
No.
Farrell. No. Mayor Fallon.
Yes. I know, so what, can you get the final tallies on that so we can,
There was 4 ayes, 2 noes, 1 abstain.
all right, so it passes. All right, thank you. Parents of interested citizens, a variety of perspectives, and I have some paper here. All right. Follow up on public awareness.
Hi, I'm Ken Sewell. I don't know, I think most of you guys know who I am. I've been doing our roaming neighborhood watch for 4 years or so. I've asked Mr. Jordan here, how we're, what's going on with another officer. And I don't know if anybody's aware, but we did lose one officer already. He transferred out of from us. He's now in Clackamas County. So now they're 1 short. I will tell you that if anybody would like to come on out waste nights and see what's going on, that'd be great. We got a lot more going on than we have in the past. I've last meetings, I brought it up, said, hey, weather changes, and we're gonna get hit, and we've been getting hit. I'm not gonna, we're on video, not say what we do. There's 3 of us, we're volunteers, we take our own time out, our own gas, and we don't care. We really don't. It's the safety of our community that we're worried about. We're down to right now, we have 4 key locations that we watch because there's a lot of activity. So we're gonna step up, guys. We're gonna have to get law enforcement in here. We've heard several comments already about some of the people's concerns is public safety. It's time to get somebody in here. So everybody's aware of the apartments, or excuse me, the motels. We have some development down here on the railroad tracks now. We have 2 tents. We got a homeless guy living out here at the Herman Creek, used to be the old telephone building. He's back. So we're gonna get more. I'm pretty sure it's public knowledge. I think you can go in and you can look on what kind of arrests have been made the last 2-3 weeks. I could be wrong on the numbers, but there's probably been 11. All 11 of those guys have arrest warrants. They were in our town. Okay, so that's what we're up against. So I'm hoping, like I said, if anybody wants to ride along with me late at night, early in the morning, or if you want to do it yourself, come on out. I mean, like I said, there's a lot more activity. And then really, my other big concern is that because we talk about revenue. We got the regatta, we got PCT days, we got rock and gym shows. If people are camping here, that are coming to these events, if they can't leave their stuff unattended, next year, I doubt very much those people will be back. They'll go other places. So, gotta think about, revenue, for our town and safety. So.
Agree.
Okay, but I'm also gonna say, for those of you who do have cameras up and more lighting, the lighting is what we're seeing. That's amazing. Makes it easier for us. Brigham's got 2 new lights up on the side of the building. It lights up the whole dark area. It's so much faster for us to kind of cut around. I won't mention the other 2 guys that are doing it. The other guy and myself, we actually park our vehicle now and we're actually walking. So, and then somebody, I don't remember who it was, somebody asked about, the old warehouse building. I did call it in last Sunday, or excuse me, Saturday night when I seen what was going on. They couldn't respond until the next day because the sheriff's office was kind of really busy. But what someone had done, they took a bunch of blank keys. If anybody doesn't know what those are keys that have not been cut to a specific cut. They were shoving them in there and trying to get in. And they took a framing square and shoved it in between the door, trying to wedge it open to try to get in. So that's the kind of stuff that's going on. The graffiti, from what I'm understanding, and a couple of guys I've talked to, that's not gang related. Those are kids. Those are kids that are going down and doing stuff, you know. So if anybody's worried about that we're not seeing yet. But as to one individual right now, he keeps coming out the best West are that Origin or God's End or whatever it is we're now. That one individual, we've actually watched him try to get in someone's car. I've come around with my lights on and he takes off running. He runs pretty fast, but he ain't that fast. But he runs in back into the motel. Unfortunately, we can't do anything. You know, so that's the kind of stuff we got going on. So I just kind of want to let the town know that's what we got going on. So if anybody else wants to volunteer, like I said, it's all volunteer. Anybody else wants to come on out, come on out.
Ken?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for everything you're doing. We really appreciate it. The sheriff's statistical information that we get doesn't show any warrants on it.
Okay.
And it only goes from the 1st of February till the 18th. It shows like 3 thefts and harassment, unattended death, a couple or 4 vehicle stops. So really, I don't know if they're not putting the warrants down here. Now, whether that's intentional or not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's like I said, that's what I was told. I was surprised that someone goes flying. They have a restaurant.
I've heard it from more than from you about the amount of warrants that have been served down there. And we do have some ordinances on the books about nuisances. And one of them is about the amount of warrants being served in single property, where we could declare that place a nuisance. And we could basically shut it down. That'd be right, Mr. Cleveland?
I'd have to take a look at our ordinance, but typically there are, if places are havens for drug or other illegal activity, then you can declare nuisance.
113.04 or 01, number 4.
Like I mentioned last year, when we had Matt English up here.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, you guys got to go up making your driveways and your yards inviting. You leave that gas can out, it's not gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, light up your driveways, get cameras installed. There's some really good ones that are out. They're not real expensive. But the biggest part that you guys can do to help us, keep your yard clean. You know, don't make it so inviting. You know, that's, light it up, get the cameras out. You know, I don't know when we're gonna come up with the extra money to get another deputy. I've heard from Gordon for us, 3 or 4 years before you got here. I kept hearing, oh, we're working on it. Doesn't take 4 years to work on it. So,
Well, we got
just saying.
a lot of new counselors and budget season coming up, so.
Well, I'm just saying, is at some point, we gotta figure out if it is the money that's an issue are more important than our safety of our community.
Yeah.
So at some point,
That the old Cascade Inn, I noticed it's been about 2 weeks now that they put those sheets up over the window.
oh, so if you wanna know a little bit more about that, we actually had a homeless guy go into the back door of storage closet, push up the tile, jump down inside, was living in it. I had called sheriff's office to have him come out. Had that guy left his fire going on in there, got out of hand, it possibly could have burnt the rest of those buildings down. That homeless guy is not gonna pay for that. But I'm sure the business owners, insurance is probably gonna go up, so that's kind of stuff we're seeing. We do have it locked up now, thank God. You know, like I said, we're out heavy, we don't tell anybody what days, what nights we're out. It's just easier that way, so. All right. Thank you for your time.
Oh, Ken,
Yes,
the sheriff that left, he wasn't the sheriff, was he?
no, he's a deputy.
Okay.
It was actually Isaac Brown who left us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so he's the clackamas.
All right.
He's a good friend, so.
Yeah. Thank you. for what-
So we are short.
Thank you for what you're doing. This council is planning a work session, hopefully soon, and it'll be open to the public, and certainly public safety will be on that. If you have other ideas, I know in Clackamas County, my husband and I were victims of a violent property crime in our home, and we started a neighborhood watch, and the sheriff came out and trained people to do certain things. That might be one thing. Code enforcement is which brings up there maybe we can tickets people, and until they are don't want to be here anymore. There's a fine, and I know we're working on the protocol for code enforcement as well in this city, but we have to do it.
Well, the ones
So-
we're having problems with are not actual residents, these are ones coming in
Right.
from Portland and Vancouver. So.
Thank you. Great.
All right. Brenda, Forest Lane garage sale days.
I'm Bridget Wood. And I promised when I got done with my council thing that I would not quit talking to you guys about Forest Lane. It's a very serious issue. It's not as serious as the crimes that we have going on, but we have speeding cars. We have trucks that weigh over 80,000 pounds going on Forest Lane, and that road is not built for it. So, and I know we don't have it in the budget to redo the road when it breaks down. So it's better to look at it ahead. We put this out because we were saying, thinking that the way station, when it was open, they were ignoring the light, the trucks. They were ignoring the light and going around the scale, which if you've ever done trucking, you want to go around the scale. We don't have a Winco down there. We have Winco trucks coming down Forest Lane. We have the guys that are going to Bear Mountain, they're heavy haul, and they're over 80,000 pounds, and they're speeding up and down our road all night long with their engine brakes and all that. So it is a real issue and has been. The other thing too is I would like to let the community know that the garage sale days is coming up. And it is April 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, but the 27th is added in there. Is for people who are ready on that day and want to allow the locals to come around and shop their garage sales or whatever before the big crowds come, then they can do that. It's kind of a little twist to our garage sale days. I actually advertised the 28th, 29th, 30th from 9 to 5. I'm asking if you sign up for one day or multiple days, that you do them days and you stay them times, because people come from all over. It's just crazy. I mean, they're coming from Yakima, they're coming from California, they're coming from all over for these garage sales. And there has been some complaints in the past about, I drove all the way here and then people aren't even doing it, and that's not good, because people will quit coming, to quit being such a good event. I'm hoping that I can get some businesses to kind of maybe do some coupons or something. I've asked the fire department if they're gonna do their pancake feed to raise money. They usually do it on Saturday of garage sale weekends. It'd be a great chance for the PTO to do a car wash or something. They have in the past, not in the recent past, but they've done car washes and different events during this time because there is so many people in town. And that's what, and it's $6 to be in the garage sale. You can be in the garage sale, but it's $6 to have that free advertising or advertising. It's not free because it's going to cost you $6. Be on the map and get a flag in your yard. And it's a really good time to get rid of stuff and become part of the community. It's a real big community event. If you haven't done it, it's fun. Even if you don't do the sales, go around and see the sales. You can see where people live and different things like that. Also, on another side note, I've heard rumors about how I was name calling and doing all that during the council procedure. And I've heard that come to me from people in our community. And I would like to go on record that I have not called anybody, any names in this council chamber. I don't do that. I pride myself on being a faith-based Christian woman and being honest and having integrity. And when you challenge my character, it really ruffles my feathers. So I would like to go on record saying that I've never called anybody, any names. I even went back and watched the council, like, wow, did I really like get out of hand that day? So I sat and watched it today. If anybody is curious about what really happened that day, go back on YouTube and watch January 23rd, and then you tell me how you feel. And thank you guys.
Next, Carrie, IGA and port concerns.
Hi, I'm Carrie Blue. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for volunteering to be part of our community and be a voice for our community. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to voice my concerns regarding the proposed data center development on the port property and its potential impact on our community. Specifically, I have 3 different concerns. My first concern involves the city. The proposed updated IGA seems to have no mention of an upper electrical limit, whereas now it's set at 2 megawatts of power provided to the port. As far as I know, the new language just says the city will provide the port with adequate electricity services. I believe moving forward with that kind of language would set a dangerous precedence. So just wanted to voice my concern on that, because I know that is kind of coming up and into negotiations soon. Also, I know in the previous meeting, you guys were talking about hiring a law firm to assist with the IGA, and it is the same law firm that the port is using. And I just wanted to voice my concern also that law firm, using the same law firm as a port would be a conflict of interest. And I would encourage the city to look into an alternative law firm to assist representing them with the IGA. And lastly, I know I said this during the last meeting, but again, I just really want to urge the city to schedule a town hall and invite the port in order to encourage open discussion between the port, the city, and the citizens to allow for questions to be answered by the port and the city. Time really is of the essence on this one to be able to give the community a voice in this decision. So those are all my concerns. I appreciate your time tonight.
You do realize that the port can build their own substation out there if they wanted to?
Yes, yeah, I do realize that, but I mean, between time and money to do that, I don't think that's in the cards for the flex, between now and the time you want the flex 6 building to open. So there's concern about using our current substation for that.
And we've already started the process of updating our substations.
I understand. My concern is with the IGA stating no limit to what the port can use.
Can you repeat what it says currently in the IGA for the power consumption?
From what I understand, it says the port or the city would provide the port with adequate electricity services.
So it's just, the issue is it's not clearly defined what is that.
Correct. Exactly.
So that was a draft IGA that I worked with, hoping to get port's feedback on, which never got, which was hoping to be discussed at the joint work session that got canceled. And so that's where that's coming from. So it hasn't gone beyond that initial draft.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think the current IGA is the port is 4.1.
4, it's around 4.
4
Yeah.
megawatts with their promise that,
Correct.
that's the agreement, the current agreement.
Mhm.
So I know that this data center, the port has never come to the council and presented as a group,
Right.
so they haven't done that yet. So we're kind of, it was like putting the cart before the horse a little bit. So I know that's a big topic for all of us to go through.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just really want the community to be involved as well. There's a lot of concerns out there for a lot of different parts of this proposal. So I want to make sure that, you know, the community has a voice in it as well.
Also, I don't think Cable Houston is representing us in writing the IGA.
Correct. That is separate.
That is a, we're hiring them to directly work and with the business roundhouse, not port.
Okay. It still seems, if they're working with the city on a port or roundhouse, it just seems a little conflict of interest there. So just wanted to point that out.
And also that, Stumptown Mines out there, which is a Bitcoin mining place. When they first came in, they came in asking for 2.2 megawatts to 4 megawatts.
Mhm.
And they eventually want to go to 14.
Yeah, that's a big concern as well,
Yeah.
definitely.
And they've been up and running at 2.6 now. You have to get right up next to the building here.
They're different systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're different systems. So it's kind of like apples and oranges. You can't really compare.
Right,
Right. And we don't have that much power currently,
right,
so.
understand. Yeah, I have lots of questions for roundhouse on Wednesday.
All
And
right.
I encourage everybody to go to the open house on Wednesday too and ask roundhouse your own questions. They'll be there 4 to 6 over at the Flex 6 building.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you. All right.
We did have one person that had their hand up,
Okay.
but then it went away.
You wanna ask them again? or-
Person that had their hand up online, I didn't catch the name. I just saw a hand.
It was
okay.
me. Sorry, it was me. This is Rachel Najar. Hi. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. Sorry, I was dealing with my kids, but thank you everybody for all your input tonight. I see a lot of passion for our city, and I love to see that. And I've just really been thinking about the vision for Cascade Locks. I know that we have a vision statement, but it's so special and it's so full of natural resources, and we are putting a lot of trust in the port right now to bring in economic development for our town. And it's kind of scary what they're doing. And I think we should try to get some more involvement there from the city and make sure we have all the facts straight before we go into a legally binding contract with them for 25 years. And there's a lot of unanswered questions, and there's a lot of things going on at the port right now. And it feels like the city could have an upper hand here and help to guide them because they are part of our city. I know that it's two separate entities, but you know, we should be able to help each other and remind each other why we're here. And just, you know, reading the MOU, the goals that they have and wanting to, you know, it just sounds like they really want to make Cascade Locks high technology town and bring tech jobs. And, you know, is that really the direction that we're going? And is that where we want to go in Cascade Locks? Because, you know, everybody comes here to escape the big cities and the technology. And that's why I came here to live, was we have perfect water and views and the beauty all around us. And we just should be working really hard to preserve that in our sweet community, that it just keeps growing. And, you know, we should be growing with the community, but I think we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves, especially right now. You know, the banks are crashing, and will that affect the loans for this tech company and the clients that they have? We're putting a lot of trust in them, and I think our city should be, you know, really asking for involvement with that. And I just thank you guys for considering my words, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Okay, any others?
Nope.
Okay. Reports and presentations, city committees?
All right, Matt Kelly from Tourism Committee is going to present. Matt, are you on? you here. I'm not seeing them, so I guess not. They are gonna present tonight.
Have a Hood River County Reads Program Proclamation. Bonnie?
Yes,
Yes. Welcome.
thank you very much. So I'm Bonnie Withers, my husband Richard over there, from the Hood River Reads Committee, from Hood River Public Library. And county library, I should say, because it certainly includes you all. I was here last year with the fire story. I hope you enjoyed that book. And we have another wonderful book this year. And pardon?
It was good.
Thank you. So I have this proclamation, and I'm not going to just read every word here because you got a copy of it anyway. I would like to point out the organizations that really support our program. This is our 17th year. And we have grants from Hood River County, the Library Foundation, Star Seed Foundation, Hood River County Education Foundation, Friends of the Hood River County Library, Hood River Cultural Trust, Gorge Community Foundation, Hood River Valley Leos, and other generous individuals. So it's wonderful to have that kind of really solid and enthusiastic support. And the book we have this year is, I don't know, some of you have seen it already because we already had the kickoff last weekend. The book is Rough House by Tina Ontiveros. Tina actually lives in Hood River and spent many years, not in her earlier years, but later on in the Dalles. She grew up going from one little lumber community to another, living on the family living on the edge in many ways with an abusive dad, and it's a rough story, but it's also a story of love and figuring your way out and moving up. And it's about a lot of our neighbors. It's about the people who are kind of invisible. And so this is what it says. The author, Tina Ontiveros, gives Hood River the opportunity to engage a personal story of a young girl growing up Pacific Northwest logging camps and working class towns amidst her family's intergenerational trauma and poverty. And it's in some ways a tough read because she's very honest. It's hard to be this honest. And then there's the success that she achieves. So we have, I had this really work to bring you some books, but I'll tell you, Cascade lots, gave them all away on the first day. We sent more out this morning at the library. There was one copy. There was one copy there. So you all can pass them around amongst yourselves. I know it's not quite enough for everybody. And then we have a whole program going on, and that's all in the brochure. We've had a long evening. I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I'll just, you can hear.
Bonnie, I'll take this from you.
Oh,
And the books.
and the books?
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
I'll pass them out for you after.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I certainly hope to see some of you at the events. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie.
Our library has it to check out too. When I went in there, I noticed they had a book up with barcodes, so you can actually check it out.
Right, and I think there are like 8 of them in the system, so if we run out of them, and once people read them, they're encouraged to bring them back, and that will start happening, and we can pass them out again. There's a little notice in the book that says, read it and bring it back, we'll pass it on. Thank you.
Do we do a consensus on the resolution?
Proclamation.
Proclamation?
Let's go motion.
I motion to approve the proclamation for the 2023 Hood River County Library Reads Program.
I second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Clumpton,
Aye.
Emily Baker,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. It passes.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. So next up, wastewater treatment plan update.
Okay, so Jake, I can never, Von Key, I'm saying it wrong, from J.W. Fowler, the lead general contractor for the wastewater plant. I asked him and Representative Anderson Perry to stop by, give about a 5-minute, 30,000 foot overview of the status of our wastewater project. So Jake, go ahead.
Hey, Jordan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me, I can share my screen. I got a presentation here for you. Not sure if you can allow me to do that.
Should be able to.
It says host is disabled, participant screen sharing.
Under security. Go to security and allow participants to share.
Where's that at?
That one. Like that.
Oh,
Higher, higher.
share screen, yeah.
Huh.
You should be able to, Jake.
Nope. Yep, there we go.
Oh, cancel. Go in. There we go.
Alrighty. So I'll try to make this pretty quick. So my name's Jake Benke. I am the project manager with James W. Fowler. Not sure how many of you are familiar with the project, but ultimately the project is we were hired as a general contractor to come in and do some wastewater improvements. So the wastewater improvements consists of replacing and upgrading 2 of the pump stations. One of them just behind my truck here is over at the Marina Lift Station. And then also at the industrial way pump stations over kind of by Bear Mountain over there. And also there's about 13,000 feet of sewer piping that we're inspecting and replacing about 32 lateral repairs. So that means that's a connection to a house or apartments or anything in the area there. And then we also have some mainline repair, so which is usually it's about an 8-inch or a 12-inch diameter pipe that we come in and replace. So this is kind of a canned presentation I had to give within our internal company stuff here. So a couple of the slides I'll kind of blow through for you guys, but we've got about 12 guys on site. It goes up or down, plus or minus, based on kind of the activities that we're working on. So this was taken. Not sure how many of you have been able to come check out the wastewater treatment plant. I could see that typically something that most people would want to avoid, but anyhow, so this is a shot of the treatment plant here last week. Had a little bit of snow out there, obviously, as you guys know, but what we're going to be doing here is this is a kind of a screenshot of what the plans look like. So coming up here in a few weeks, we're going to take the existing plant offline and bring in a temporary treatment plant to so that'll allow us to make improvements to the existing plant. And so the sewer will flow into our temporary treatment system, and we'll meet all the permits and government regulations that's approved per the city plan. So ultimately this is the majority of where the work's at for the project. So I've got a couple of slides here I can kind of help show what's going on. So initially we had one of the things that we have to do is to build a new, it's called a grit structure. And let me go back a slide here really quick. So the grit structure is going to be, this is the existing plan, is about right where this light is here. You can see my mouse. So that grit structure basically intercepts all the, how to put this kindly, all the big particles. And so that'll reduce some of the heavier wear throughout the rest of the system, and it'll ultimately make the system last a little bit longer and be more robust for growth down the line for the city. So first thing we had to do, we had to come in and relocate. This is a big 18-inch diameter pipe. So all the sewer for the city that's connected to the sewer system comes through this building right up here in the top corner. And so we had to relocate this new pipe and put that in, and that'll tie into the existing, the new grit structure we're building, as well as the existing building. So here's a couple of beauty shots of the crews here working. So This is the new grit structure. This was this last summer, getting the slab and foundations in for the grit structure. And there's some of the formwork and rebar going up. And this is getting ready to do our wall pours. Got some big, pretty good sized concrete panels flying up. Obviously, when the weather's wet, which it obviously tends to be, we have to make sure that we've got our good stormwater management protocols in place and trying to keep the dirt and mud down as much as we can. So here's pouring out the roof structure. So it's about 12 feet tall, and there's going to be some pumps and equipment that sit up on top of this that actually here arrived a couple weeks back, and we just set those up in place. There's the grit that flows in from the headworks channel, runs into this. This is called a block out for formwork, for those of you that aren't familiar with construction. So the water will flow in and it spins down in this wet well, and there's a pump in the bottom, and that separates out the grit or the heavy particles from the water. And then the water will shoot downstream and go through the rest of the treatment, and the grit will be separated and hauled off to a landfill. And so here's my foreman finishing off the concrete there up top. So we do have it's a prefabricated steel building. When you say prefabricated, it's a little bit more involved than an IKEA build, but we've got some structural steel members that we have to erect and put together. I think I should have a picture that's showing what the building looks like after it's all poured out, and we've got the garage door in and the man door down below. So we've got the structural steel erected most of the way up. We're going to put a roof over it, and this structure is essentially just to keep most of the elements off of the equipment that'll sit up on top there. This is from down and below in the grit structure. There's a lot of conduit, and there's going to be some big electrical panels that go in here to control all the equipment that separates the grit from the water. So over at the main pump station, this work's complete. This is the one that's over right there by the boat launch down there. So we had to take the existing roof off of the structure. It's about 15 feet deep and 8 feet in diameter. So the influent right now in this picture, this was the existing. It flows in through here. Now it also flows through there, but we have some new piping and stuff in there to convey it down so it doesn't splash around and make as much odor. So this is after the roof's been poured on the new structure. And this is what it looks like if you were to walk out there pretty much right now. So we have all new pumps and all new electrical controls and communication systems, so that if there is an issue, that we can make sure that the city knows about it, and the Jacobs, the plant operations staff, also knows about it. So this is kind of showing what some of the mechanical piping looks like in there. And the picture on the right's there setting one of the new pumps. Those pumps weigh about almost 1,000 pounds, and those are actually made in Sweden, and so they made it all the way across the ocean to get over to the Cascade locks here. So the industrial way pump station is also complete here as of middle of last month. So this is a very similar pump station. There's not as much on this side of town, so the pumps are a little bit smaller, but for all intents and purposes, it's a very similar structure, and it'll be easy to expand the capacity of this if there is growth for the city. It's just getting ready to, we had to, excuse me, add some false work underneath that grading there in the rebar. So that's what's supporting the concrete when we poured it. And that's showing what the slab looked like when the concrete was still wet. And the inside of the wet well, there's some, it's kind of a thick coating, basically, that'll increase the longevity of the existing concrete in the wet well there. So I think its design life, I want to say, is 50 years. So it should be there for quite a while. We're also able to borrow some of the help from the Cascade locks, the fire department there, for a day to help us fill up the wet well to run all of our pump testing before we put dirty water in there. So props to those guys for helping out. We had them for about a couple hours out on site. And then this is what the completed pump station looks like over there at the industrial waste site. So additionally, like I said, we've got some, the water treatment plant work is scheduled to begin. The plant shut down here in the next couple of weeks. All of the temporary treatment system will be showing up next week and the following week, and we'll be getting on that online running with the plant operations folks. So this is the existing facility. This is what they call a sequencing batch reactor. So this is the one on the left is SBR number 1, and just to the right would be SBR number 2. So all the equipment and stuff in there gets demolished, excuse me, and replaced, and with those new those little blue things that float in the water. That's what helps to decant the solids from the there's some more technical terms, but basically it lets water flow out into the river to be treated with the UV system. So additionally, like I said, we had some lateral work to do in the street. So this is, I'm sure you've probably seen some of these guys out trying to keep the noise down the best we can. But this is right in the neighborhood. So like I said, we're out here to replace these lines. So there was a survey done several years ago from another company, and they marked out locations where pipes either had sags or were leaking, or where there were roots growing into them, or pipes were cracked. A lot of this work was done, I think some of it was back in the 70s. So it's done a pretty good service life. So a lot of the pipes that we did find were actually in really good shape, but there was the ones that we were supposed to replace that definitely needed some replacement. So just kind of showing this picture on the left here shows how some of the pipes kind of come together, and it's a little bit of a spaghetti. This one wasn't too bad, but getting all those replaced, and we've got about 3 of those left to do. And then we'll be more or less done with some of this lateral work. We'll come back later this summer once the weather's a little bit nicer to come back and patch the existing asphalt. So make sure the roadway's nice and looks nice and good, and it's not too bumpy. So that'll be coming up here later this spring and early summer once the weather starts to get a little bit nicer. And that's it. Thanks for letting me chime in here, Jordan. Appreciate you guys' time, and thanks for letting us. Thanks for letting us help you guys out. I really enjoy working out here. I'm born and raised in the greater Portland area, but I went to Oregon State, and all my guys are all local guys in the greater Portland area. A couple guys are from Salem, but really appreciate the opportunity to come out and work with you guys.
Thank you.
Council, any questions?
I appreciate your telling us the 50-year life of the one element. What about those lateral pipes? What is your estimate on the life of those?
I think the design is, I want to say it's 50 years. It'll probably, I mean, assuming there's no earthquakes, they'll last a really long time. I think they'll probably last longer than 50 years. It's plastic pipe. It's high density plastic pipe, so it'll last a long time.
Thank you. And also on the, you said, oh, this will be easy to tolerate growth. So if, let's say, we're building Winsong 2 and we want the industrial area full and every restaurant, every shop downtown full, let's even say we double. Is our sewage capacity ready for that? Or would we need to add more?
That is an excellent question. I think I guess off the record, I'm not the designer. I'm just the dumb contractor that puts it all together. But I would say that the system as it is now, after the improvements, are more than capable of handling that. I think the existing plant, from the plant operator, he's told me that it's runs at about half capacity. And that's for the treatment for the whole city. So if you double the size of the city, it'd still be within the parameters.
I have one more odd question, and you can decline answering if you want. But is it something that you ever see that possible methamphetamine or fentanyl manufacturing waste is ruining pipes? Would you ever note that? Would we get DEQ to measure that? Or do you decline answering?
I don't. Yeah, I guess I don't have enough information to be able to tell you that way. I don't think that that would be an issue in major concentrations, like in a huge city like in Portland or something where there's a lot more of that, there could potentially be an issue. But as far as degrading any of the actual materials of the pipe, I don't think that would be an issue.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Is anybody here from the operations side?
I don't believe so, Jake. Nobody from Jacobs is on here that you're aware of?
No, I hadn't talked to Andy. I doubt it.
Okay, I was gonna have them come on a separate meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Did anybody from Anderson Perry hop on, or you said Troy possibly?
Yeah, I think Troy said he might come on, but I'm not sure if I haven't seen his name on here.
Okay.
Well, thanks for all the work for you and your crew. It's I live right there by the Beer Mountain pump station, so I've been watching the progress of that as I'm going to work in the morning. It's neat to see it all kind of coming together.
And Jake, tell me if I'm wrong, I know your crew's pretty friendly. If one of the council members just pops in, wants to take a peek at things, you guys are more than inviting of them to take a look.
Yeah, definitely. By all means, stop in, say hi.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate you sharing your screen as well. Good job with the visuals.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, electric department, Groundman report.
Hi, I'm Derrick. And I'm your electric department.
We're more like this.
I didn't really bring anything. I figured a lot of you I don't know. Most of you don't know me. I've been here about 14 years. So I figured I'd leave it open for questions.
Well, I want to thank you for getting on the streetlights right off the bat.
You're very welcome.
I mean, you brought it up last meeting, they're already done.
I made him do it.
Yes.
Could you just provide a summary of your responsibilities?
Basically the whole department. So ordering, scheduling work, outages, day-to-day operations, paperwork, anything that revolves around that department, I do on a daily basis.
So at one point, Eric, there were 4 people in that department. And
There used to be 4, yes.
sure, people retiring and going other jobs. That's one of those jobs where you can throw a dart at a map and you can find a job. It's very difficult to fill. I think I've mentioned it before, in that department, it's either all or nothing. There's no sense in hiring one more lineman, because to do the power outages, we still have to get a full crew of 3 or 4 people. So we're still contracting out. And Derrick does a great job as one man, keeping up on a lot of things. So it's kind of, and discussion to have during budget season. I mean, do we want to keep one man and contract out? Do we want to try and get a full crew of 3, 4 people? So discussions to have, but Derrick's done a fantastic job.
And Derrick, on that note, you are the expert in the room. And so we appreciate your hearing your dreams, because from those dreams, we can get the steps down to the first step we can take. So as we get into planning a budget, I hope that you will say some of the things that Jordan said. I'm doing fine as long as we have these people to contract, or you know what? Another part-time person for.
Well, one thing I was gonna bring up is, this winter that we just went through, I haven't seen one in like 3 or 4 years. So normally it's not that bad for power outages, but I will say it was very busy and it was very cool.
And if you had ideas on how to prepare for another winter, please, I hope you would share.
Yes, if you guys give me ideas, I can bring other things in on the next time I come in and be able to share some more information. But if you guys have any questions, you're feel free to ask. If I can't answer them, I know people that'll give you the answers, so I'll get you an answer one way or another.
I'd love to see like a wish list, like what would you need to be?
I would have to think on that one, because there's a list.
Okay,
There is a list.
all right.
And Derrick, you heard what I asked about sewage. Let's say within the next few years, we do double. Windsong 2 is gonna take electricity. If whatever happens in the industrial park, and we know something needs to happen, the port needs to get some income in there. And let's say our businesses that are closed on Manapa open, are you able, is that like, wow?
He's already like that, maybe.
No, not really. Basically what we do when we have a new business come in, if it's on a line, like anywhere out there in the industrial park, we make them do a load study. And our engineers will let us know how much available capacity we have on the wire, not necessarily the substation, but the feed that goes into the park.
Okay.
And to kind of answer your question, Denise, I talked to our engineers about a month ago now, just to get a feel. I told them about Windsong 2 coming in, 45 townhouses. In a rough math, they said 45 houses uses about 3/4 of the megawatt. Just for reference. And then that was knowing there were townhouses that kind of insulate each other, so it's a little less. He would have said if it was 45 single residential homes, would have been closer to a megawatt.
Is there anyone, do you cross-train with anybody? So like if you were sick, would we just do total contractors
Yeah,
then?
we'd have to, yeah.
So what I do when I take vacation is I get a hold of my contractor, I schedule a guy to be in for the time that I'm away, so someone is here all the time. If it's not me, I make sure somebody else is here, so we're not left in the dark with nobody around.
Okay, literally.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good one, yeah. One of the storms, he was in Prineville. And like, he's on vacation, I don't wanna bug him, and then like, crap, there, come back.
Part of the job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would be interested in knowing that since we are down 3 men, and we have to contract out, would hiring 3 men, what we would pay them and their benefits and stuff, is that how much greater than contracting?
Well, Derrick and I talked, I'm actually glad we had a crappy year. We can compare this to what is normally budgeted for having a full crew.
Yeah.
And like I said, theoretical games play out and, see which direction budget committee wants to go.
It'd be helpful to know kind of what this year looked like, but also like a 5-year trend.
Exactly, yeah.
This was somewhat of an outlier.
Yes, I show up and things happen. Yeah. Second that motion. Thanks, guys.
So a couple of things, one, we were talking about IT stuff earlier and how now we're kind of in this situation, because we haven't done a great job of upgrading equipment over time, that we may have to do more of a all across the board update. I'm wondering, are there things in the electric department that we should be watching out for, replacing and planning for?
I do a pretty good job on that. Most of our, and plus that we have PUC, which is Public Utility Commission, come through. They're due to come by again this year. They take a small section of our area and they go through and they find issues. Then they send us a report, and then I've got 30, 60 to 90 days to go out and repair those problems.
Got it. So when I hear people talk about the wish list, that's what I'm hearing it from them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I'm interpreting it is, what are the things that you see are red flags that come down the road that we should be looking for, planning for? But it sounds like you're.
I do have a couple of jobs, but I haven't gotten that. Jordan and I haven't gotten that far, so I don't want to blindside him tonight and bring up these jobs that he doesn't know about yet. But there are ones that we need to start looking at and budget money to get them replaced and upgraded.
Yeah, I guess any looking at a report from what's happened in the last 3 months that was really noteworthy that we should be aware of?
Not since after the storms. Since the storm's been out, it's been very mild weather-wise, so it's been very nice. I've been able to catch up on other things that obviously don't get done if we're doing stormwater.
So Derek, maybe you can explain a brownout a little bit better than I could.
So, like on a typical, and I'm gonna use this, I know it was on the primary set, but I'm gonna use the secondary set on it. So typically, going into your power meter, you have 3 wires. You have 2 hot legs and you have a neutral. If you lose a hot leg, you only have half power in your house. So anything that's 240 volt doesn't work. Anything that's 120 volt works. In this case, with the substation, with the fuse going out, it's the 3-phase customers that are affected that way. Not all their equipment works correctly. And some places that are on areas where we only have 2 phases going in. So it's the old way of what they had single phase back in the day. It takes 2 primary phases and transformer work. Nowadays, we only need 1 phase transformer works. One of those goes down, now you only have half power inside your house. But most of that affected the 3-phase customers. Unfortunately, it happens. We actually had a service this past winter that it didn't rip it down, but the customer didn't call for 2 days because they thought they had something going on in their house. And what we found was one of the wires, a connector had pulled apart, so they only had half power to the whole house.
So when that happened, that was the environment that did it, not a decision made on the electrical world here in Cascade Lodge saying, we have to go into half power.
No, that was that windstorm.
So I thought it was great that some people in the community said, turn off your major appliances. Because in my little circle, I know Ale House's freezer died and a gentleman near me, his heat pump went out in the brownout. So I guess it's a part of our community communication to tell people what to do should that ever happen. And I really appreciated the quick response. I think the city put something out maybe on social media. But we want to hope avoiding that. So when you have plans of how to avoid that.
There's really no way to avoid it. I mean, Mother Nature does its damage in its own way, and hopefully it'll be a few more years before we see this like this again.
What's the difference between that brownout and like California when everyone's using their air conditioners? I mean, they call that a brownout.
I don't have a whole lot of information on that one down there, so I can't really.
Okay, but that wasn't our case. Ours was weather.
Ours was 100% weather related. That southwest wind that blew through here. What it looks to be we have a piece of equipment inside the substation. It's called a reclosure, and it's digital. And we can tell which phase got hit. So which phase went to ground, and it'll show an over amperage on that. And one of them showed a high amperage on it, and it was high enough to blow the fuse in the substation, which protects our gear, thank God it did that, so it did its job.
I was just thinking, it's just kind of unlucky timing because, we've got that brownout that happened right before this whole roundhouse discussion. And I think that there's some people in the community that are concerned that if that brownout occurred because of over demand, like you're saying, with the air conditioners in California. And now we're going to tax our electrical system even more by having a higher demand, and then could that result in more brownouts? But from what I understand, you're saying it's not related to demand at all.
No, that was
Entirely.
But Pete, I do think that in some places it can be related to demand because there's overuse, overtaxing the system. I don't know what happens when the system is overtaxed.
They
Say
shut
in
it down.
Texas or in.
They shut it down.
And that's the brownout.
Yeah.
Those are more rolling blackouts. They turn off the power in sections because there's not enough power to go around, so they cycle it around.
So that'd be an electrical system that wouldn't have enough supply to meet the demand. And so they do sequential shutdown, or
they have the supply, but it heats up the lot and power lines, and if they get knocked down in the winds and the high heat, then it's their fires.
Yeah, I think in that scenario, it'd be BPA and they just cut off Cascade locks. So it'd be the whole town. When the BPA decides to give it back to us, we have it back.
Well, we're lucky that we're close, because they don't usually shut us down, but they will shut down further down the line, like Fish River.
Yeah, they did that.
They have plans for shutdowns when winds get to a certain speed.
Are there any specific questions or reports that you want Derrick to have ready for next quarter?
I was just gonna say that the other part of my question is anything upcoming in the next 12 weeks, and I guess that would be the like follow-up for future meetings, if you kind of recap of what's happened in the last 3 months, and what do you have on the books for the next 12 weeks?
We can do that.
Anything coming up?
Well, obviously, we all know there's talk around house. I don't know much about it. I know of it, but we'll see how that goes. And then phase 2 in Winsong. And then some other small, like single house projects, but nothing major. Those are the 2 major ones that are coming up right now.
We have talked about the dead trees down by Warrendale and. Dockside.
Yes, and that's another thing, the fire mitigation deal, which we'll get more into it on budget, but the state or the federal government can come through at any time in our house. So I've been putting a file together since last year, since it got dropped on me, that there you go, this is what you need to start doing now. Any areas that we do any mowing, any tree trimming, anything like that, I take pictures of. So that way there's proof, it's got dates, if there was a contractor used, that receipt is attached to it, so we can do as good as we can as far as saying, we're working on it. They don't expect us to get it all done at once, they know that's not, it's just not gonna happen. We do have some danger trees down there, and the first outage that we had this fall was one of those trees that went through in a bad spot. And I'd like to try to get those addressed before next winter or before the summer winds come and get those on the ground.
So that would be a good report to show us where, and, estimate, if you have the ability to estimate the amount of time or cost to get this fire mitigation done and tree, but maybe just.
Yeah, it just depends on what we do. I mean, I'm gonna use a local contractor here to go with me. Because he's got the equipment, obviously. See what he'll charge us to take these trees down in these areas that we were hit in this last winter, and see if we can't get those down on the ground and hopefully protect us a little bit better. That's what I'm hoping for, before it gets hot.
Get a couple of those beavers to help you.
It's been a few years. Well, no, actually, I take that back. This last spring, Oklahoma Falls got hit and it started a fire, and those pictures are in my file as well, so they can't come back to us and say, hey, you guys weren't managing your stuff. Perfectly healthy green tree, animal took it down. It's enough to cause a spark and start a small fire down there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Derrick. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for staying late.
Craig Stat.
Hey, you're ready to go.
I am.
Look at that.
So it's a lot of numbers there, everybody. So really what this is, we get, every month, we get our crime summary statistics report from the sheriff's department. And personally, I found that this didn't have a lot of context, and it was hard to really understand, is this a normal month? Is this a good month? Is this a bad month? And what is normal? And so we're very fortunate that we have these crime summary statistics. They go back to 2017, halfway through 2017. You asked the question earlier about whether warrants show up on here. I'd have to check with the sheriff's department on that, but basically we've got calls and cases. The calls are all the things that come in. The cases are things that are generated as a result of those calls.
And so some of those call breakouts, I'd have to look, but I think there might be a code for serving warrants. I don't remember offhand on that one specifically, but, so what we did was, I hired a data analyst to create a spreadsheet for us. And it's all publicly available information, and we have at the bottom, we have a couple different worksheets. We have cases, case data, call data, and then crime statistics, dashboard, case distribution, and case versus call. So the case data is going to be just the ones on the left that result in cases. In this month, we had 13 for February 2023. And then we had 123 calls that came in. Now, I guess where I found this to be useful is that when we get this report, we can compare what happened in February 2023 to February 2022, February 2021. We can look at that. To take this information and enter it into the spreadsheets, about 15 minutes worth of work. It's not a significant investment of time. But I guess I brought this to you all because our job is to write policy. It's not really about the execution. And I don't feel like it's necessarily something that somebody on city council should be responsible for maintaining this Google sheet. But is this something we want to task city staff with maintaining? And is this something that we want to make available to the citizens of the city, which could be done via just sharing Google links so people can actually see this?
Well, I really appreciate you hiring somebody and coming up with, that's half the battle right there, coming up with formatting. I know for myself, when I see these every month, I'm automatically thinking, what was it last month? Or what was it the year before? So I find this data is really, really important. So it's going to help with strategic planning. It's going to, we could go back and say if we have something happen that we know that maybe extra people who are living here or something, if crime went up, then that would enable us to say, hey, this is this program that this motel started doing. Last year, our numbers were X, this year they're this much. So I think that would be helpful knowledge to have.
And I'm remiss in not recognizing Marilyn and her assistants in gathering all of these reports. It was not easy to actually go back to the sheriff's department and ask them to produce these all the way back to 2017. And I think it took us 3 or 4 rounds to find all of the missing things in the statistics. So she was a huge help in putting this all together.
Pete, so will it be easier then to keep up with it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the hard work's done.
We have the spreadsheet, we have the format. The way I would love to see this work is, Marilyn, do these come to you directly, this crime summary statistics?
Actually, they get emailed to Kathy
They go to Kathy.
from the sheriff's department. Yeah,
And then-
they just automatically, I don't know what time of month they get them to her, but it doesn't appear.
And I guess I would love to see this be more of a formal part of our, when we get this crime summary statistic where this actually data is already entered into our spreadsheet. And then we actually, it would be more of a presentation of here's what actually happened in February 2023. And here's how that tracks compared to the month prior. Here's how it tracks to years prior. And that way we can make more data-driven informed decisions.
Are you suggesting that the budget is time for this to be put into that?
That's what I'm suggesting is that we would ask city staff to maintain the spreadsheet going forward.
Is this something that we would, like, I don't know, we always use a vision of a plate, and how full is the plate? What needs to be taken off the plate for a member of the city staff to update the spreadsheet?
I think once I figure out the formulas and we get the numbers, like I said, 15, 20 minutes to plug it in. I just gotta know how to work the formulas.
And unfortunately, I think it hasn't been updated since like June or July, so there's gonna be a few months to get caught up on everything. But then after that, it's just entering the, how they come in every month.
I just want to remind everyone that our staff is overburdened with the loss of our financial person right now.
So I would like to add more to your plate, and this seems, it does seem wonderful, and if it were just 20 minutes a month, that would be great.
Yeah, probably, getting caught up and then after that, 15, 20 minutes a month.
I just trust your
You'd be able to.
transparency and how overwhelmed you
I'd
are.
probably do it for now. Other duties is assigned. I guess my question for you, council, then, assuming you want staff to do it, do you want this as a line item on the agenda once a month to review? How do you want this data presented to you guys?
The once a month would be really helpful. So I know several members and we've all talked about police, crime and everything, and I think it would keep council and all of us in the loop.
And eventually, if we felt that it wasn't alarming to the community, but transparent, if, as we move toward a new tech system, maybe there would be a place where this lives in our webpage as well.
I think, I don't know much about Google Docs, but I'm assuming we can make it only a view only link.
That link that, I think you've got the link,
Yeah,
allows
this
you
is-
to view it, but you cannot make any changes.
Oh, okay, perfect, didn't want to.
Not yet,
And again,
not yet.
And this is all, this is taking publicly available information and just putting it in aggregate form. This is information that's already available to the public, but it would take a lot of digging to actually put this together without actually having that.
You got the hard part taken care of.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So like, there is some things that we should be aware of that are, some deficiencies in this data. So like, what day of the week are the top pieces of the current Cascade logs? That's not the time that it may not be the day of the week that the theft occurred. That may be the day of the week that the case was filed, right? So like some of this stuff, that the data analysts put together comparing our crime summary statistics to other areas in Oregon around the country, it's hard to compare what's happening here with what's happening in Portland, because a lot of it, is based on enforcement. So our numbers may look down, but it may just be because we don't have somebody that's here, enforcing it. But while there are some limitations to what we can take out of this, I still think that it may help us make some educated, informed decisions, and there might be some benefit to it.
Okay. So Jordan, sounds like you're good with.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can update it and kind of tweak how it's presented to council and kind of see what version of the numbers is most informative. I mean, like I said, this one here might not be the greatest to really present on a monthly basis, but maybe calls versus cases, however you guys want to have that.
Well, on the case data, on the very first worksheet there, if you scroll over to the yearly summary, you can see the monthly there as well. So if you keep going over, monthly summary that shows breakdown by month by type of case. So that's one where it may be really useful to look at and see, well, it's not statistically significantly different from any other February, and here are our top cases. Or this was an outlier because we had X, Y, or Z happen last month.
Good. All right.
So I'll share I'll make you an editor.
Perfect, fantastic.
All right, so next, we're almost done. Council planning work session. So we need to get that rescheduled. Just unforeseen things happen and we couldn't do it last time. So we need to come up with a date. We can go for the one day that we were going to do. It was an all day, 9 to 4-ish, something like that. Or we can maybe split it up into 2 half days. Like maybe do an evening and then a partial the next day. I'm open to suggestions and we need to come up with a date.
I think it'll be very good for us to do this, and I hope we can do it sooner than later. I did go to the port strategic planning sessions it was a Friday night and Saturday morning, so I'm open to that as well. But I know people are busy, spring break is coming up, I don't know who has family plans. I am available Saturday the 18th. I would be willing to do it part of a Sunday. I know some people go to church. I don't know if that would, if it makes it easier to choose 4-hour sessions. Anybody else have comments?
18th of March,
Yeah,
this weekend.
This weekend, yeah.
is it?
When we had a plan, it was Saturday.
I'm available most Saturdays. I think I would prefer if we just do it all in one day. I know it's a long haul, but it's good to get it done and instead of spreading it out, picking up
2 days.
2 days.
2 days.
When you split it 4 hours each day, you're not doing anything else those days.
Right, right. Okay. So the consensus is all in one day, you think? No? Right.
I'm ambivalent on that subject.
Okay, all right. I know I'm available the 18th. I am not available, when is spring break? Is it the last week?
Last full week of March.
Okay, so that,
For our district, it starts on, it's next week.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, this is my grandson.
Oh, it is? Oh, I thought it was my son.
For Hood River School District is not with the rest of Oregon.
Oh. Oh, yours is next week?
Yes.
Nice.
Is that new?
It-
It doesn't matter, it's okay.
I'm not available the 25th. I'll be out of town training. I am available the 1st or 8th of April, 18th, 1st or 8th.
And I'm gone the 3rd to the 7th of April,
All right, so how does everybody feel about the 18th, this Saturday?
The Saturday's fine.
Is that good?
I won't be able to make it, I have a tax appointment.
Okay.
But
So,
I can catch up with you guys, later.
what about April 1st? Yeah.
That's the fundraiser for the museum. I don't know if that would be a good day or.
Oh, yeah, that's
Something
right.
like that, yeah.
And what,
What about the next Saturday?
We do Sundays, Sundays out.
Sunday's my one day that
you take off?
I'm not going to the hospital. I am, it's my one day.
Abby, did you say you're gone on the 7th and 8th?
I'm gone the 3rd to the 7th.
3rd and 7th, so the 8th might be okay?
Well,
Like the 8th
that's,
of April?
when is Easter?
The ninth.
Oh, that's.
So that's not gonna work. It's an egg hunt that day.
Okay, I guess the 15th.
Now, usually the other event is on the 8th, usually the day before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So back to the 18th, the Saturday?
Either this Saturday or the 15th of April.
I'm not sure of my availability on the 15th of April.
I think there's another event.
Casino event.
Oh, Sam and
I think there's something on that day. Thank you. Like, so it looks like the 18th. I'd be like ripping up Band-Aid.
I think you probably heard Butch is not available.
So you're not available?
No, I had something scheduled the 4th and I replanned it for the 18th.
My golly. So you're not available on Zoom either on the 18th?
Or not for part of the day?
What about the 22nd of April?
I will be out of town training, but I mean, I guess for part of a day, I can come in and out of Zoom, but
So if we're getting that late, we might as well wait till after the community vision plan is done. I mean, that point will be a couple weeks into it.
How much of it's gonna be redundant?
Well, I think the vision plan, we're talking further out. This is supposed to be for the next 4 months. The idea was to get input from us before we go into the budget.
and Does it have to be a full, let's say we don't have time right now. Could we just spend a 2-hour work session? Would that be useful or is that?
Better for me.
Could we do a couple Mondays, like we did last time, where we start at 5 and then,
We can do that.
I can't start. at
oh, that's
5.
right, yes.
You,
I can start at 6, but that doesn't leave much time.
Well, it gives us an hour. I think we can do a lot. I do think it's important that increase participation and having you here, what you're having Tammy here, I think is important.
Yeah, well, essentially like 2 major parts, review of the past goals, discussion of new goals. We could do the past goals one Monday, and then future goals the next Monday.
And a week that we are not in session. Would be-
Yeah, we could do that, yeah.
You can stay later because no one else is here.
Right, we could do like 6 to 8 on a Monday when we're not in session. 6 to 9 even if we wanted. 2, so that would be, what's coming up?
Next Monday?
The 20th?
20th.
This room is booked on the 20th. Bradford Island Restoration Group's having a kickoff meeting that evening
And I'm
here.
gone all next week.
I'm gone too, but yeah, spring break.
holy cow.
I know.
Yeah, jigsaw.
How about the 27th, we have a council meeting.
But we can do a 1-hour meeting before then, and then they do the next Monday as the longer.
Does that work? Meet like an hour before.
Yeah, I don't think the review of the old goals will take too long. We could probably do an hour.
Wait, I mean, you said you weren't gonna be here April 3rd through the 7th, and yeah, you wouldn't be here that Monday either.
Well, I could attend the Zoom for the council meeting if required, but yeah.
So it sounds like. Clarify this.
Now, we are Monday the 13th, right?
What about the
now.
21st on a Tuesday? After like 6 to.
We don't have a council meeting on the 3rd though.
But that week is
No, but
spring break.
we would have, that would be the,
Other option for doing that.
Don't think it does at this point. Good.
I think. When is Seaside?
Seaside is 25th and 26th of April. So we have to decide if we're having council on the 24th.
That's a good
Oh, yeah,
point, that's a good
travel, yeah.
point, Butch.
Right. And it's Monday, I mean, I guess it would be rushing it to say, do we want to meet Thursday? 6. Would that be?
You guys could have the council meeting on the 24th and I'll join you from Seaside.
Well,
I think
there's quite a few of us.
all 4 of you are going.
So we'll either all be on Zoom or is there, if there are not events that night that we need to be attending?
No.
I don't know, I think with 4 of us out, and I just would hate to schedule a meeting, council meeting, and if something happens electronically or
Travel wise.
something like that. Well, there's a couple questions, so we gotta figure out when we're, so it sounds like everyone's on board if we met an hour early before a meeting, so we could just simply go over the past goals, right? Okay.
And when are we doing that?
27th.
27th at 6 p.m. Tourism committee will be, they're next door, but that probably doesn't matter.
Okay, so that we'll go over past goals, and then we just need to go over. Well, what about, go ahead.
I'm hoping, I think it would be nice to have more than an hour for future, but maybe it's silly.
No, just an hour on the past goals.
Right, an hour.
And then I think we need more than an hour for the remainder of this year.
Is the first, did you say the first was the event?
No, but.
The first is the museum, the 15th is the PTO.
And what did we
And the
say
8th
about
is
the
egg
8th?
hunt.
Is what?
Egg hunt.
Easter.
Easter.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I mean, but we could, yeah, I mean, times of day, I don't know what works for folks, like a Thursday, yeah. Thursday also, or do we want to keep it on Monday? Do we want to?
Or we could do the very next, is everyone here the 28th? Or no, that's the one I'm going. I'll be here for.
Yeah.
What if we start with the old and then we can work towards finding a date via email or something that Jordan could facilitate?
Right, there's, everybody put in different times by email, and maybe Jordan can do his magic.
I can do a doodle poll.
Okay.
And I would respectfully ask that you might consider, 2 hours this night, 2 hours that night, but we're,
I'll give a plethora of options, don't worry.
okay, thank you.
Sounds good. You guys can work with that old.
Next session.
Next session is
27th.
the 27th at 6, and I'll be attending by Zoom.
Okay. All right. City Administrator, Bennett report.
Okay, I got a long one. Sorry. Okay, community vision plan. I met with Amanda Ferguson for a kickoff meeting last week. And as we asked, they're moving fast. They want to get things going. First thing is setting a steering committee, recommended 7 to 11 members. They'd be kind of the ones spearheading the project locally. So on my report, here's a list of people from different areas. I want to get your take on it before a certain names were set. They're looking at holding the first meeting on the 23rd. This is before I realized it was spring break next week, because Hood River is weird apparently. But we can move it. So if we need to slow down the process, we can, but they're trucking along as we ask them to. So, but if any of this moves too fast, we can slow it down. They want to get the survey questions out. They want to get stakeholder meetings done. Amanda and I met this morning to go over the survey questions to have a draft to you guys by the next council meeting, and then have it out to the community by the end of that week. She wants to start getting stakeholder meetings done end of this week, next week. So I mean, they're moving. They want to get this thing going for us. But first thing is steering committee. So it's 7 to 11 people, not including myself or staff from U of O. That would be kind of the group that everything would bounce off of. They would kind of help organize it, do the logistics, things like that. So obviously, Mayor Fallon doesn't have to be the mayor. Another council member, 2 staff members being John and Sheldon. A lot of it being community safety. Sheldon, a lot of it to do with if there is a project the city has to do, his crew is going to maintain it. So making sure he's involved, getting our committees involved, planning tourism and beautification. And was there another one? For budget, somebody from the budget committee, which I didn't put on there, get the port involved, probably at least one private business owner, and then somebody from the school district, because everybody wants more involvement from the school. My thought was the elementary school principal. I don't know who that is, but again, give me some direction. Who do you want?
I could reach out to the grade school principal.
I mean, I can do all the reaching out. I just need direction on who you guys want on that
So
committee.
I'll be on it.
Okay.
I'll be on it. And then John, do you have any interest?
Yes, they do. They do.
Other duties as assigned.
Yeah, yes. Yes.
How involved do you want to be?
And I'm looking at the members of the tourism committee in my mind, tourism beautification committee, and I think that Pam was fully opening her schedule to do a lot of work, so you might want to ask Pam.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Business owners, don't know who's not too busy, but,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a business owner, I'm just throwing out
makes
ideas.
sense. Carolyn Lips came to the port meetings. Hallie Baloo, Realtor, might be a good ask. I don't know if she has time. She's got her finger on the pulse, both with school and, you know, who's moving in, who's moving out. I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
Caroline's real busy too.
Yeah.
They all are,
But
yeah.
she might, I'm just thinking this is a big deal, and it's short-lived. It's not like a 4-year term. So, the people that might want to be involved, you know, something that's important but short-term.
And I'm also interested in inclusivity, how many people are aware that there's a steering committee that may have a spot that would be a good contender for. You know, how do we, not to
Right.
muddle this up any more than it is, but is there a way that we could reach out to some of those stakeholders? I feel like that's important.
We can
Well-
put something on Facebook.
And
We have
they,
this committee we're putting together.
and what do they do? They write a letter of interest?
Yeah.
And how soon is the committee meant to come together?
They would like it by the end of this week. I mean, like I said, they are moving fast. They want to get this thing going.
So we won't have a way to help you choose people.
I think that's where we maybe have to delegate that responsibility, but who do we want to delegate that responsibility to?
I say Mayor Fallon.
Sure.
Yeah. So you put that out there and Mayor Fallon and Jordan. Yeah, yeah.
Right, any city councilors interested in?
I'd be interested in being a part of it. It depends on when these steering committees take place though, because of my work.
I think there's at most 3 meetings. with the
More of a
committee.
time of day, because
Yeah,
like if it's a weekend or Fridays.
They'd probably be during the week, I would say, but we can make them evenings.
I'd be willing, but I'm deferring to you as well, because I think it's great that you're new on the committee and willing to do it, so.
I think it's okay to have 2. We have 2 for,
No, that'd be
or just 1?
Well,
Yeah.
With you, I don't.
if we have 3, then we just have to make it a public meeting and record it and.
Well, I don't need to be on it. I mean, I trust you.
You're up, batter up. All right.
Nice work, Mr.
John.
I'll make my voice heard.
Can I say something? Can you do food bank so I can go home?
Oh,
Please. Where is your food bank?
I don't have it on here, we had talked after I put this together here,
Oh,
but it's on in my handwritten notes, it's not on the printed one.
Please,
please.
come up.
all I did was I wanted to request use of the gym so we can add an extra food bank day and add an hour to Saturday and have use of the gym. That's all I want.
Yeah, that was on my list, I had emailed Ruben, they've been doing it for free, I wanna have at least some kind of contract agreement in case something happens, we're covered on both sides, if our power goes out, their food's covered, their machine goes on whack, short circuits our building, we're covered, whatever it is, insurance, all that jazz.
So I don't really understand what we're talking about.
So this food bank is here twice a month, the 4th Wednesday and the following Saturday. They want to add an extra Wednesday, so it'd be 3 days and extend the hours of the 2 days they already have. And right now, they do it for free, no agreement, no contract, nothing. They just show up and they do it, and we give them a key, so they come in Saturday. I'd love to put an actual agreement together, so it's in writing. I don't want to charge them, but I want to have it in writing.
I like that. And do we need to vote on this, or we say?
No, just consensus, and once I have a document ready, then you guys can vote.
I think, thank you for all you
Thank you
do.
so much.
We're
Oh my
so sorry.
We're like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And no, we're not charging.
Sorry.
So anybody have any questions about the food bank that maybe I could answer while I'm here?
So I've tried to recommend to some elderly neighbors to come? What do they need to do in order to come?
All they need to do is show up.
Show up, okay.
Yeah, no paperwork.
Bring some bags or?
No, we sell my bags.
And it's, if I was to share with them, is it
That's their
any
waste.
fresh food? Is it canned food? What kind of?
So we have canned food, dry food, frozen food, and fresh vegetables.
Okay,
I suggest, I mean, they have tables full of vegetables and meat. They have a lot of stuff to give away. I mean, it's fantastic.
I've
Yes.
seen it on the, have I seen it in the
Pictures.
social media maybe? So I really want to encourage
And she
these
has
people.
carts to help if somebody can't carry it, she has carts.
Yeah, we have, and we have roughly 11 volunteers that help out. And so we also have a truck day that all the food comes in. We unload the truck, put it all away, and then the following week is food bank day. And so right now we're running from 1:30 to 3:30 on the fourth Wednesday of the month. The following Saturday is 11 to 12. So I don't feel like that is enough hours for people in need to be able to come, and they're all hours that are during the day. So the day that I would like to add is the second Wednesday of the month, and I want to do it in the evening, 4:30 to 6:30. For the people who work, that can get here and get food.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're planning around. It's gonna take me a couple months to get it all organized and get everybody informed. And it's not so much that we're trying to hit the clientele that already comes, we're trying to hit the ones that don't come. And that's where we're gonna run into problems. So it's gonna take me a couple months to work out how to reach out to those people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And you feel safe, you have enough volunteers to be here
Absolutely.
in the
Yeah.
dark. Okay.
We did have a run-in with a homeless person prior, it was still when Zimmerman was here. And the person ended up getting, trespassed out of the city.
Okay.
And, he is still here in town, but he doesn't mess with us anymore. He was getting violent and, you know, we just don't want anything like that in a food bank, so.
Well, I just gotta say thank you. You and your crew, they do amazing.
Thank
I
you.
hear all the stories from Martha, and I've been down there. It's just, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, for little worker bees.
It's amazing. Like, yeah, you get a lot of stuff.
And the good thing is everybody knows what needs to be done. So if one person is assigned to a certain area and they're caught up and they see something over here that needs to be done, they will just on their own go over and do it. And so everybody works really good together. And I know that you came and volunteered once to help us unload the food truck.
Which worked out too.
Yeah, it is a workout.
And
So-
how do we
John, yeah.
see when you need volunteers, you post on social media?
We always need volunteers.
Right. And that you,
So to show up,
Fish Food Bank, do you have like a Facebook
I
page?
do have a Facebook page,
Okay,
and it's Cascade Locks Fish Food Bank.
okay.
And, but really, if you just show up on truck day at 9 o'clock in the morning, we can use you.
And when is truck day?
It changes every month.
Oh.
So, this month, I believe it's the 15th. Yes, Wednesday, the 15th.
And then you will be,
So we will unload the truck at 9 AM. And then it all gets hauled inside, and then everybody puts it away in the right rooms that it goes in. And then the following Wednesday is food bank day.
so we have a freezer here.
I have 5 freezers here. Yeah, and 2 refrigerators.
Wow.
I would have an industrial freezer that was given to us by the market, but we couldn't get it in the opening to get it in there.
They lock
Yeah,
the doors, you know, so that people can't get into it, so.
Right,
yeah.
thank you.
About how many people do you serve on a
So
ballpark? I know it changes.
it does. So when COVID came and everybody got extra money on their food stamp cards, our numbers dropped to around 55. But at Christmas time, we hit upwards of 90. But now that that COVID money's gone and nobody's getting the extra money on their food stamp cards, we kind of have a feeling we're gonna get hit.
You are.
And they're having trouble up in Corbett. That,
Oh, are they?
yeah, getting fresh fruit and vegetables and stuff like that.
Yeah, we usually get bread from them. And then we just have one day in the community, where the whole community can come and take bread. And that's where we get it from, the rainfall.
Our pastor is, he works up there and he's told us they're getting shortages.
Well, I know the Oregon Food Bank, which is who supplies us with our food, is having a problem with juice, tuna fish, chopped ramen, I mean, crazy things. So we, of course, do a lot. Our Columbia Market does a lot for the food bank. All that meat you see in those pictures, that's all donated by the Columbia Market. And, but also if I go down there and say, we couldn't get juice this month, they have no problem getting juice. They will arrange it for me and I picked up 60 or 70 of them and they have no problem getting what we need. So I feel pretty fortunate to work with them.
That's nice. We should spread some of that news in the community about both of you.
Well, I try, I put it on social media, but not a lot of people, I don't wanna say don't care, but they just scroll by,
Right.
you know, so.
It's important because on the flip side, we see other posts about price gouging in the market, you know,
Right.
price of eggs or whatever. They don't know all the other things that they do to support the community, so it's nice of you to say that.
Yeah, but we, during COVID, there was a handful of us that were dedicated to feeding people. So we would show up here, we would we would call everybody first. Take us about 3 days to call all the clients. Then we'd show up here and just set up every table we had, line them all with bags and just start loading. And then at that time, people would show up and just pull up in their car, open their trunks, we put the stuff in it, there was no contact with anybody. And that's how we did it, month after month after month. And it was taxing on us, but we did it and we didn't complain because people need food. So it was trying times, but now we're back to everybody's coming inside and yeah, a lot better.
Are you affiliated, does the school ever let the families, I guess the free and reduced lunch or needy families? No.
So the Fish Food Bank is doing the lunches for, I believe, spring break.
Okay.
They're flipping the bill for that, for the school. And that will all be delivered. It won't come here. It won't have anything to do with the food bank here. It'll just be taken directly to the school and handed out there.
Right. So obviously the principal knows about you and can refer families.
Yeah, the principal, I don't even know who the principal is.
That might be a good connection for referral.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, and thank you for being patient. I would have got you, it's okay.
That's all right.
Anyway, appreciate it.
I learned a lot, so.
There you go, there you go.
Hopefully you don't have to drive far.
I don't, I'm local.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, and I'm Samantha, by the way. I don't know if I introduced myself.
All right.
Samantha, I'm not available this Wednesday.
John, come on now.
Talk to the sheriff.
Dang it. Maybe the sheriff should come here.
I'm not strong, but I can.
All right, thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Jordan, your report.
Yes, so I have guidance on the steering committee. We'll move forward on that one. Like I said, we'll have a draft of the survey questions at the next council meeting. So I think you're good to go on that one.
Jordan, could I recommend that you take a look at Bristol, Washington? They're a city of our size.
Yep.
And they have a community survey listed on their webpage. Really great questions, and it falls right in with our, could be a blueprint for you.
Okay, yeah. I know I've been to Brazil many times. were there any specific questions you guys wanted on there? I mean, you know, I'll get a draft to you guys. In the top of your head, any specific questions? We talked about, make sure to mention housing, police, youth activities, adult activities, quality of life stuff, infrastructure, basic demographic information, I mean, the whole gamut. Do you know if there's any specific questions council wanted on there?
And you can think about it and maybe email you. tomorrow.
Okay, definitely.
In time, we could go on for another.
I know.
I know, that's only the first item. Okay. All right, BPA substation. So, BPA finally got back. Their depreciated book value of their substation is $383,000. We budgeted 210. Back in 2018, there was a tentative deal for $250,000. At the time, the money was not secured, or the grant was not secured. That's why it never got finished. The BPA staff is confident, semi-confident, if we counter offer at 250, it will go through relatively quickly because they proved it in the past. If we want to go lower than 250, it might slow down the process 5 to 6 months, where they have to do whatever they do to get approval. I have reached out to both of our senators and our representative to see if there's any way with BPA. I haven't heard back. So the reason this isn't a vote is I just want to have a consensus to move forward at the 250 mark. And when we get some point of agreement to actually buy it, that's when we'll go to a vote. Are you guys comfortable with the 250?
Can we find that for you?
We have contingency funds, and yes, I'm sure we can work with BKI and maybe get some more money from the port. Jeremiah, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make it happen. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds right.
Yes, as you all know, our finance officer resigned. His last working day was the 8th. And then the effective day on payroll was the 10th. We have put the job out for recruitment. I have gotten one nibble, I haven't seen an application yet.
I'm working.
Okay, all right, John's helping me grab somebody, we'll see. So it's out, I do like, same with IT, I want to bring in somebody outside City of Gresham, maybe Hood River, the Dalles, who is an actual finance person. I mean, because I can do finance statements, I can read them, I understand them, but the actual process, I'm not an expert, I'm not my field, I'll be honest. So I want to bring in somebody at the interview who can actually say, yes, this person knows what they're talking about. That's my plan. Hopefully get it filled as soon as we can. But in the meantime, the finance duties have been shifted between staff. Right now, City Recorder Kathy Boozley is doing a lot of the heavy lifting going through AP, AR. She'll be taking on payroll once we kind of get things figured out, see where Dave left them. Some of it will shift to Maryland. And so we'll kind of see how that goes in the next couple of weeks. The IT and HR side I have taken over. Hopefully that doesn't entail too much going forward. And I have contacted the company that Dave had recommended, now CFO, and they're willing to work with us. So.
And specifically on getting that.
Yes, so yeah, so staff will do payroll, AP, AR, the day-to-day stuff. We want to bring in an outside finance consultant to help us get caught up on our finances. So we have good numbers, put a budget together and get our 2022 audit done and get caught up, keep them on payroll or on contracted until we have a new finance officer in place, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks of overlap, get the new person up to speed and then set them on their way.
Starting with Kathy and Marilyn and yourself, is it possible to project extra time? Is there extra duty funds available now that our finance guy is gone? I mean, it's not like Kathy wasn't busy already.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something we consider.
We can, yeah, do a temporary pay increase, something like that. If council's fine with it.
But I think it also is coming back to utilizing resources as much as we possibly can.
Correct.
And it's not a permanent thing, this is a temporary Band-Aid.
Yes.
Right.
So.
And does council have an understanding when he was saying we need to get caught up?
We're like a year behind on.
We're down to about 7.5 months. We got halfway through August.
And how long will it take us to be?
If we can get them, so we're, get them on site, we'll do a review. If they go 40 hours a week, they can get us back up to speed probably in about 6 weeks. Give or take,
Maybe less.
maybe less.
Dave said that when he first started, all he was really doing was the financials, and the financials cut up. He did, what was it, 12, no, he did 12 months and 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He was averaging 2 months of reconciliations per week. And we're 7.5 months behind at this point.
Yes.
So 3 to 4 weeks, if we could do 2 per month.
And
2 months per
we're
week.
hiring extra for that.
Correct.
Right, the
Yes.
specialists, but Kathy and yourself
Just maintain.
are taking on extra duties. I personally, if we are saving money, obviously, because the financial person is gone.
No,
No.
because we're contracting with another CFO
Right.
company.
Yeah.
to
For
get our
extra,
financials.
for more than he would cost us during that time.
Yes, they're not cheap.
They're gonna be more expensive. than-
Their junior accountants start at $85 an hour.
It has to get done. Yeah, it has to get done, and yet I don't wanna lose Kathy. We can't lose the second person because we gave her the job of the person that just left.
Kathy will speak up to you, I have a hunch, though, won't she?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Don't worry. We've had many conversations.
Yes, okay.
Therein lies the budget for gift cards and things.
Okay.
Employee recognition.
Alright.
Okay, IT services, I mentioned this earlier with RFP, we're currently using RadComp as an emergency IT service. Goal planning session, you can scratch off, I forgot I had that on there. MOU with Roundhouse, Cable Houston did put together a draft of it, and I sent it over for Roundhouse to review. Kind of hash out details, and just like, all the other contracts, once we get to the final version, that's when we'll go to council to vote on. That we are gonna stick to the fact that they have to provide $50,000 deposit to cover any of the expenses, whether it's the legal fees, load study for any lines, anything like that, the $50,000 deposit.
Is that gonna be?
For now, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
For what we are estimating the cost would be 50,000 would be
Yes,
covered.
yeah, when I talked to Cable Houston, they said that was plenty of money. Yep.
But we also have to do an IGA.
Which is separate
With the port.
with the port, and that's Ruben's gonna help us on that one.
Sure, all right.
We'll get there, yeah.
No, that's fine. I have no problem with that.
All right,
I'd like to see that, what you sent over to them, what you came up with.
Museum collection, and Butch probably knows this already since he's on the museum board. The city still owns the museum collection because they, at the time, could not afford insuring it. They are now in a better stable financial position. They want to take ownership and insure it themselves. I talked to Ruben about this. We thought loaning it to them, so they would take, I guess, temporary ownership of it, provide the insurance, but because they are a nonprofit, and I guess has somewhat of a history of not being financially stable, something happens to them, it comes back to us, and the collection's not lost. I have heard from Janice that the museum board doesn't exactly agree with that arrangement.
No.
I think they want ownership, they want to present, I think, April 10th.
Janice wants to come to the council and
Yeah.
give a presentation. And it also involved that there is an intergovernmental agreement, and that would have to be voided and a new one made.
right.
Because we do have a intergovernmental agreement from 2016 that's ongoing. And
It
that's-
just exceeds the megawatts that they have it.
No,
This
this is what's supporting the city on the museum only.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But ownership of the collection is ours currently, and there is a proposal that we don't own it anymore. Is that
What we presented was for to loan it to them.
right?
I think the museum would like to take complete ownership of it. And kind of, it sounds like Janice, the executive director of the museum, has a presentation, and she's tentatively scheduled for April 10th.
But we would give the city first refusal. You know, if it ever was to leave or the museum was to be dissolved, it would come back to the city.
Okay. More to come on.
Okay.
Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. Originally got a call from Jeff Haskell, the county administrator, about this, and I did talk to, what is his name? Joel Matson from the Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. The what are they called? Columbia View Apartments up on Wasco are currently affordable housing, low income based. The current owner wants to get out of low income housing and change it to real market value. Mid-Columbia Housing Authority had a panic attack and now they want to buy it and rehabilitate it and turn it into, keep it as low income housing. They had asked the county for construction as excise tax to cover it. And the county commission went, well, what does Cascade Locks think of it? Everyone went, I don't know. So the county administrator called me and I'm presenting to you guys. I don't think there's really much in the way you can do to stop it unless you're really against it, but I think they'd like to know what your opinion is.
I know tenants there and it seems to be a good place. Is Mid-Columbia County Commission the same that's funding Bridge of the Gods?
That's next on my list. That's two different
Oh,
groups.
it's not the same group.
Two different groups.
Sounded the same,
So
okay.
Mid-Columbia Housing Authority is about permanent housing. Mid-Columbia Community Action Council is rapid temporary housing. Two very distinct things, especially if you talk to the housing authority, they are very different.
So personally, I like the idea of the apartments and wouldn't mind even seeing more, and I still want high-end condos and all.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing.
But anyway, anybody else? I know tenants there.
It needs to be kept as low income.
Yeah.
It really does.
And if they buy it, it might be that they can also keep it a little tidier, that whole street. That whole street is a mess.
You might get a little better management.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fear is that if people lose that housing, then they can't afford to live in Cascade Locks. Cascade Locks loses employees, and it just
Right.
spirals
Right.
that down.
How many units is that?
12, it's only 12.
Can they buy the yellow building too?
We can talk.
Is that across the street?
The one that's right at the, yeah, from the.
All right, well, let it go, we'll absolutely support it. Mid-Columbia Community Action Council. They provide rapid rehousing, a limited duration, up to 6 months. They provide case management, navigation to other resources. They contract with the private businesses to find this rapid rehousing. They do background checks, the city do background checks. They place people close to their support networks. So they're not, plucking people from the Dalles, dropping them in Cascade Locks. They're supposed to be close to their support network. Again, that's what they say. I know there's concerns about it not doing our code. If they're there more than 30 days, then we lose out on transit room tax. So there's a lot of issues there, but that's the source of the rumor that's been going around, and they are more than happy to come present. So
I believe it violates our conditional use code for hotels or conditional use, and we have in 8-6.04.04, consistency with plans and laws. And then it says in 8 that in City of Cascade Locks shall comply with all of the comprehensive plan, the city charter, applicable regional, state, federal, and local laws. I've called the Hood River County Planning and Zoning. She said, we have nothing to do with it. It's all Cascade Locks. Don't even talk to us. So, and she said it's in your ordinances, and we have 8-6.70.030 conditional use hotels and motels, and we have written that conditional use applications and major modifications of existing conditional uses shall be administered and reviewed as a planning commission decision in accordance with Article 2 procedures of this title. I don't think they went to planning commission. It has been sold. It is a major modification of existing conditional use. So what do we do?
what was that ordinance?
I just emailed it to you tonight. So you've got it in an email as well. Okay, but the 8-6.152.030 administration it's under the conditional use. I know our CDCs, if you haven't tried to read them, are really hard to read. Because when you click on one link, it's the table of contents, and you have to guess where the rest of it is. It'd be great if that was all one document.
Yeah.
But it's under the conditional use part, under 152, which hotels, motels, and bed and breakfast establishments are conditional use. And since it was a conditional use as a hotel, does it still qualify as a hotel? Number one, and the fact that it hasn't gone to our planning commission. I just feel like it's slipping in under all of these codes because we currently don't have codes, and the 15 duties of the planning commission haven't been, we haven't encouraged that to happen. So I don't know, we have the attorney here now. I don't know how code enforcement happens. We need an attorney to say if code has been violated, and sorry, Jordan, it's you right now. So we get somebody, Jordan, you have to go give them, what is it that we give them? A cease and desist, a fine? What is?
Typically, what we would do is,
Thank you.
Thank you.
we would send them a letter first of all and see if they'll come into compliance voluntarily. And if they wouldn't, and Gordon was here, then Gordon would have me prepare a citation in the summons, and we would summons them into municipal court.
And who determines if they're out of compliance? The city
The
council?
code enforcement officer.
That we don't have.
Jordan. Jordan.
Yeah.
So I sent you that, and he might call you and say, does this appear to be out of compliance with you? From what I said, does it appear?
From what you're saying, I mean, if it's supposed to have a cup for that use and they don't have a cup, then they're out of compliance.
And wouldn't it, you presume in change of ownership, the cup would be, the cup doesn't go with the building, it goes with the owner, I presume, and the use.
I would have to see the cup to see how that's set up.
Well, so none of those hotels actually have a conditional use permit because they were built before that zoning designation downtown
Okay.
in like 91. They've all been there longer than 91. So I'm told.
Pre-existing use then.
Yes, pre-existing use, yes.
So, okay, but what about all use or development of land and structures needs to meet, comply with our city of Cascade Locks comprehensive plan and charter? It doesn't fit our downtown plan.
But if it's a pre-existing use, then it's allowed to continue. It can't expand. Once it's stopped, it can't be started up again. But it's allowed to continue.
It's okay, it's not continuing as a hotel if they're residing people for 6 months.
Correct. Well, then they would lose that pre-existing use.
Right, exactly.
What's the nuisance complaints?
Well, everybody needs a chance, and I don't know how many they're gonna get, but I certainly don't want businesses to think they can just buy something and do whatever they want and not meet our codes, not come in and talk to planning, not come in and talk to council. Yeah.
And that would be up to Jordan to bird dog that and then see if it would be appropriate to serve them with a summons and complaint.
That's why, when I talked to Missy, her name's Missy Mason, she's the supervisor. And I asked her if she would appear before council, so we could hear from them and then present our concerns to them. And then Jordan also reinforced it by calling her. So I think our next step is to get them here. You know, before we start issuing citations and stuff.
Yeah, and that's a good idea, because I mean, give people a chance to come into compliance voluntarily is always better than just going straight to the court action.
Right, but maybe sharing with them the codes that they may have.
When they come here, then you can share it to them.
And I
That's the
guess,
idea.
I mean, not that I'm dragging my feet on this topic, as I've been approached by individual counselors about this, but I've never gotten direction from council on how you want me to approach this. If that makes sense, because you guys are supposed to, as a whole council, direct my actions, not individual council members.
Well,
But I have a direction.
Yes, we definitely need to get them in here to at least somewhat explain what they're doing. If you can ask them nicely to stop violating code,
Well,
if they're violating code.
and any business owner, new business person should be referred to our CDCs. I know Gorgeous said, oh, we didn't know that we're supposed to paint it a certain color. Well, it's in the CDC, it's there. And it's not Kathy's place to say, I'm gonna find you the spot, you know, but we can. I mean, it makes it harder for the person and staff to find the exact spot, but you gotta read it. You know, do you know you have to comply with City of Cascade Locks comprehensive plan? You gotta look at that 300-page plan? You know, plan of our charter and applicable regional, federal, and local laws. So, and the idea of changing use, you know, like that should be a red flag whenever you're changing use. Now you have to comply with all of our new codes, you know? So just to me, that can happen as a matter of course. I mean, if we,
I mean, and not to defend the business owner, but play devil's advocate, renting a room is renting a room. I mean, why
no,
would
there's
they?
certain days, number of days, I think we can call it a
Yeah, but in
hotel.
their mind, a room's a room, somebody's in it, what's the difference?
But I guess that's what you're saying, is it's not transient if
Is
there's.
it a hotel, right? It becomes the apartment of the street is what it's becoming. And that's fine, but that's a change of code, it's a change of use.
I just think it's a really slippery slope, because if you allow some, and then pretty soon everyone fills up with.
Well, mostly it's our codes, and if we need to
Right.
change them, we change them, but I still think that protocol wasn't followed on their end.
Right. So Jordan, it sounds like you're gonna.
Yep, I'll invite them to the next council meeting.
Okay.
So is this that hotel, did it change ownership to this mid-Columbia?
Do you remember when?
No, the hotel was bought by the same person, bought the grocery store within the last 8
Oh,
months.
Oh, okay.
And then change of use is
That's the
occurring.
other one,
The mid-Columbia, they're like,
They're just renting rooms from,
they're paying them for.
but they're renting continuously. Yeah. That's, yeah, because it would be different if each of these people were given stipends technically to pay for their own room. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think this organization's.
Mid-Columbia they're a NGO, nonprofit.
But they're the one buying the room. Yep. For pretty much forever, it sounds like. They're not leasing the rooms between users, I'm sure. They're just retaining the space. But I don't know.
And we have a downtown plan that doesn't include that use. So, I mean, they just put it downtown plan as well.
Jordan, anything else?
One more item not on there, getting the mop-in on Thursday for the LOC meeting. The LOC board president will be giving their annual meeting for the region 8, so going to that. Starting on the budget process, I don't know in the past when was it usually presented to the budget committee?
When was it?
I think it was, the actual budget meeting was, I think like May 24th. Typically, how long did Gordon give it to them to look over before the meeting? Do you have any idea?
It wasn't long.
Couple weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. I met with department heads. We're gonna start going over it. I'm hoping to get something to the budget committee that second week of May. So,
Template's all ready to go though.
Yep. That's what I was working on before the meeting today. That's all I got. Oh, the open house tomorrow or Wednesday. I'll be going to that, sitting in, listening, so. Yeah. That's all I got.
All right. Okay, now. Mayor and city council comments.
I have one question before we move on. The open house on Wednesday, that's with Roundhouse?
Yes.
Is the work session city council thing happening after that?
No, that has been Shelved for now, yeah.
Okay,
I think until the court figures themselves out.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
And do we have to be careful about who all is attending that?
No, as long as it's not turns into a discussion about the city providing power and everybody's discussing it.
So if we're
And you're not sitting.
representing ourselves as
Right.
residents of the city, that's fine.
Correct.
Right.
And that's from.
Am I right there, everyone?
For
Well, I mean,
Oh, I can't make it anyway.
it's so easy just to notice it anyway.
True.
And then if there is any sort of questioning or anything, then you're covered. So, what day is it?
Wednesday.
This Wednesday?
It was Wednesday, yeah, 4 to 6.
Okay, so as long as you noticed it as a special meeting by 4 tomorrow, you're covered.
Okay.
That way a quorum can show up, and if there is some question that gets asked back and forth, then you're gonna be set.
Does it have to be, sorry, electronically, like whatever, sorry, I can't think.
Virtual.
Yeah, virtual.
It doesn't matter if it's virtual, you can have a public meeting by virtual appearances, you can have a public meeting by email. If each one of you were to email Jordan, and just bang in the answer to a question, that's a public meeting. So, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's virtual or whatnot.
I'm not going. I teach a course. You're not going. Anybody else not
I'm
going?
not, I have obligation.
So the three of us, so there's not gonna be a
You're
forum.
going? Yeah.
Tammy, you going? I was planning on it, yeah.
That's 3. You're going? And then
There is a quorum.
Okay, there you go.
Cover ourselves and make it a special meeting, just for.
It's so easy to do an agenda and it just takes all the questions away.
There we go.
And then, just so that we're all on the same page, I think there's, as far as taking minutes, it's not required that there's no motions and voting, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, you don't need to, minutes. Maybe have someone email who was there, what it was about, but you'll have the agenda anyway, so that's it. You don't have to take verbatim minutes, you just have to recognize what happened. No action items, you're fine.
Sounds good. All right, Councilman Sean.
I want to thank everybody who was here today. It was a full house and now it is not. But I want to thank everybody for putting in the time and energy and effort to show your support and your woes and worries about things that are happening and what you're looking forward to. That's it. Thank you to the staff.
All right, thank you.
Thank you to the staff. I understand all this extra responsibility is tremendous. Coming from my area of occupation, we're always talking about more stuff getting added to our plate, what's taken off, and I can sympathize with you. Thank you to all the applicants that were here. Thank you to Derrick for explaining the electricity and his stuff, Samantha and the food bank. And then I want to echo the Hood River Reads program is an amazing thing. I've read a variety of their books that they've come out with. I didn't read last year's because I'm still a little stressed about it, but they pick amazing, relevant books. I've started this one. It's a whole different world that I don't understand. And then I wanted to express a little bit of support for the PTO. There's an incredible amount of conversation within this community about what to do with the public education school here. There's talk about bringing high school, middle school, whatever. And the justifications for it are to build community and do all of these things. Yet, I want to encourage you to partake and support the school that we do have. It's hard for me to understand your justifications and the community's justifications for this when they don't show up to events like that we have, like the fundraisers that do exist for the school. So support the school that we do have and be an encourager for those students that are thriving. And the school is in its present state is an incredible school for the students that go there.
I love our school. Got two kids that go there. I want to thank all of you for reestablishing me here. I'll do some catch up later since we're so late. I had one question though. Do we know when the BPA are gonna be raising their rates? It should be coming up soon. I have a feeling.
I think it's later this summer, if I remember
Is it
right.
summertime?
I
Okay,
think.
all right, that's
That's how I
fair.
remember.
October, is it October?
Yeah, maybe October, the federal budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I
I'll
know people are
double check
getting antsy about it, so. I'll check. The only other thing I was going to say was I know in the past, we used to have a cutoff time and we would move things off the agenda and postpone them. And I'm hoping, I know tonight's meeting was partly my fault because, yeah, anyway, but I would like to get back to that because this is way too late. So, all right, thank you. It is 10 o'clock in our documents.
Yeah,
Right.
it is.
Yeah, but
But
it's
it is
10:45.
I know. And thank you, everyone, for staying. Thank you, everyone who did show up. Everyone who applied. I thought this was wonderful that we had 5, and I'm so glad you're on. And that there's still a place for Pamela Tweet, and I know she'll do a great job. And the other people that applied, I hope will continue that involvement. On that note, quickly, I hope that we will bring to the agenda sometime public safety, how we get there. Through, is it budget, through planning? Is it partly security and talking to court? Is it code enforcement? All of the above. We talked about how to get code enforcement here. And I know all of this is related to budget, but safety is coming up over and over again. So I want us to put that on there. And I wanted to share that I am again, I'd like to get everybody on this council to look at our ordinance 3.31.01, the 15 powers and duties of the planning commission that would help so much with some of the things that are coming up in the city, Bridge of the Gods, such as they encourage settlement, do economic surveys, study local industries, propose general measures advisable to the promotion of public interest, health, safety, comfort, convenience, and welfare of the city, recommend new ordinances that should happen. They advise and cooperate with state planning agencies. They help us do a comprehensive plan and planning and zoning in general, making recommendations at an annual report every January 1st. And our webpage says they generally meet once a month. So there's more on here that would certainly have been beneficial if we had encouraged, empowered, and somehow help them to know that this council does indeed hope that they will follow those duties. And I have mentioned before, also the expanded duties of the Tourism and Beautification Committee, bringing heightened awareness to both residents and potential visitors. Because I do feel like working together, I think, if I'm not incorrect, the Easter egg hunt, the port doesn't have time right now. And that might be something that would be great for some of our funds. These funds that we say are for the funds that we voted money out of for PTCO might be best served, having been looked at by our tourism beautification, of course, meaning events, murals, things that do long lasting tourism, doesn't have to be TLT funds. Anyway, I just think it's time when we're looking at our goal setting that we begin to empower our committees as well, because here we are at 11 o'clock at night and some of their input would have been great. And that just thank you all. Thank you for all that you're doing. I know it's a lot. And safety committee are things I hope you'll look at. It's a lot to read, but I'm learning a lot. If you have a chance to click on every link on our webpage. I only found one that wasn't working today. And read it, like, oh, okay, this helps me understand that. Anyway, thank you all. All right, Councilor Miller.
I'd like to thank staff for all their work. Welcome Tamara back to the board. And I have an apology to Pete to make for misstating his vote on that last one. I don't know how I did that, but I did. So I apologize to you. I will be also in Moffin on Thursday. And I also have a stop to make at Camp Morrow on the way back, which is a Christian youth camp that we help support. So, and then, of course, Seaside next month. And what else did I do? Now, Derrick took care of the electricity, and Jordan got with Mid-Columbia, so we're all good for right now.
All right. I think we got a full council. Welcome back, Tammy. I think it's a major milestone that deserves a little bit of recognition. On it's great to see 7 people on the council. So we're glad to have you with us. I know it was somewhat contentious filling that last seat, but I think that the process we took, I think was important to make sure that we all felt good about the people who are out here. They all belong here. So appreciate everybody's involvement in that. Dave's departure last week as the finance director, that was definitely a surprise. I think I was caught off guard by that. And it really, as we go around the room with our closing comments, oftentimes we note staff's contributions, but it really hit home just how all of these plans and things that we want to do really hinge on us having city staff to execute these things. And so one of the, so number one, ensure that these are heartfelt things. And when we express that gratitude to city staff, it's not just something we say. It really means a lot. But two, what can we do to make sure that we're retaining the staff that we have? And so I talked with Jordan about reaching out to League of Oregon Cities to see if there's a city in Oregon that does a really good job with performance management of city staff. One of the questions I asked was, when's the last time we did performance reviews? We do any sort of employee climate feedback surveys, things that we can do to just make sure that our city staff is supported and really knows that we've got their back to get them the tools they need to be successful in positions, whether it's training equipment or whatever. So I think that that's something that didn't make it into the report, but I believe that it's something that he was going to work on. And I would be very surprised if we find a city that's doing a great job of managing human resource talent inside their city that didn't also have a very smooth running city. I would bet that those are two very closely aligned variables there. So I think that getting us in line with human resources best practices may be also beneficial to helping us achieve some of the long-term goals as well as the city. That's really all I got.
All right. I was gonna say, I'll pull up my page now, no, I'm kidding. In terms of time, first of all, thank you to staff, keeping everyone on track. Jordan, thank you for your doing. Thank you for you being here.
Happy to be here.
Camped out again. I appreciate billing us for everything. I know. That's why I'm like, okay, we will be ending this here. So, but no, really appreciate it. Really excited to see so much involvement. It was that, and I thought everyone did really well this evening. Just a couple of reminders on the discussion part, but I thought everyone did really well. Tammy, welcome back on council, and I'm excited to see a full council. I know this year it's going to be a little different. We've got lots of work to do and things like that, but I feel really good about it. Thank you to Bonnie for the Hood River County Rates Program. I really enjoyed her presentation last year. And that book was tough to read, by the way. It was all on fire. And it was tough. The fire here.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very, but it's a good read. And then also thank you to Derrick. I appreciate him coming and reporting as well. And Samantha, thank you for waiting for so long. And yes, we would love to increase your time at the gym. So and then I just want to say I'm really proud of everybody, and I feel good about this. I will be going to Moffin as well. Jordan and I are going to go over and then Seaside next month. So That's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I second.
Did you roll call those?
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker. Kathy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller, Farrell, Mayor Fallon.
Aye. It passes. I'm just gonna say it every time.
Maybe we need a slumber party or something.
Oh, gosh.
Not allowed, not allowed. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're done with John?
It was past his bedtime.
We did.